This is Talk Star Wars, the official podcast of talkstarwars.co.uk. Hello everyone, welcome back to Talk Star Wars. I'm Mark.
I'm Rob.
I'm Paul.
And there's no Stephen this week because he is off doing other exciting things, although expect a little guest drop-in from him on an After Dark Side next month, I suppose. Oh, yeah, that sounded so wrong.
In.
Oh dear. All right, let's before we do get into the giggles of the show, we need to just give a shout out to a past Titan. We lost one of, it's an icon. He is an icon this week.
Very beloved.
Mr. Adam West, who of course was self-proclaimed Bright Knight 1960s Batman. Was it 66?
66, yeah.
66.
To when? To how long?
For three,
Very old while, wasn't it?
3 years, I think. 3
3
seasons.
4 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was at the height of its powers in the first 2 seasons, I think. But this to me was afternoon, like tea time programming for me as a kid growing up.
Yeah, pretty much.
Always seeing that animated opening to the Batman TV show.
Yeah.
Where they kind of run without running.
Yeah.
It was
Yes.
very strange. And he kind of hides Robin under the cape, and then then the emblem appears. He sort
it's
of turns
fantastic.
into the emblem, doesn't he? Yeah,
Iconic.
yeah, it was good stuff.
Adam West, I mean, even up to present with his appearances on Family Guy and things like that, this guy, he is an icon.
He was
a legend.
He was very cool on Big Bang Theory, where he was actually discussing the Batmans in order.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very good. Right at the end, he's like, "Oh, and don't forget Pretty Boy Clooney."
Brilliant. Yeah, he's had a lot of. I mean, he was still going to cons. I know that he was on. I think he was on stage with Burt Ward and Kevin Smith.
Yeah, it wasn't long ago, was it?
No, only a couple of years ago.
Very prepared to laugh at himself. I'll say that he was
sure.
Good.
Yeah,
he was really seriously good egg.
Yeah, but he knew the power that the Batman brand had and the appeal that his stewardship over that character, the appeal that had to people. I think there are a few people as self-aware as Adam West. I think certainly in relation to that character,
he got it.
He really did, and he was just such a charming gent as well. What an absolute shame. So we lost him sadly on June the 9th to leukemia at the age of 88. And it's one of those things where when I was told, I caught my breath, you know. It's one of those things where you kind of, oh no, really lost a part of our childhood, I think. And I don't know, it's not Star Wars shaped, but
no, but still
a major part of our geekdom, our childhoods. And it's a terrible shame and a terrible loss. So rest in peace, Mr. Adam West. You will be missed.
Sleep peacefully, sir.
Let's move on with this week's Talk Star Wars. So reviews. We've just been running around in circles before the recording, weren't we, Rob? Trying to work out if we'd had anything this week, but we haven't.
Yeah, nothing this week.
But if you did want to take advantage of what we call our Ron Burgundy policy, it is a situation where you can send us a 5-star review in iTunes and write whatever you want in there. And one of us will read it verbatim. So if you want to promote something, like a podcast or a blog, that's where to do it. Or if you just want to be silly, because that seems to be a viable alternative as well.
Oh, yes.
Just pop
Certainly
in
last few weeks.
Yeah, certainly the last couple have been absolutely blinding. There's just one rule. If you can keep it clean, because obviously we are a family show. Hopefully we'll have something in that section next week. But that means we can move swiftly into listener comms. So you can send us questions and comments via Twitter or on our Facebook page, or you can send us an email. And if you attach an MP3, we'll include it in the show as a voicemail to talkstarwarsinfo@gmail.com. It's talkstarwarsinfo@gmail.com. And our first communication this week came from our dear friend, Mr. Dave Donovan, who would like to take Dave's email.
I'll take it if you like.
Go for it.
Go for it.
Having looked at it a little, it's very much something I've already expressed, to be honest. Anyway, from Dave. going off what James said in the latest Tumbling Saber episode, I'm with him. I think Carrie would want us as fans and Lucasfilm to stop tiptoeing and being overly sensitive about her passing, even to the character of Leia. They should serve the character the best they can and separate our feelings about Carrie. Controversial perhaps, but I think she wants what is best for the character no matter what. Thoughts? I'll be hiding behind my couch Monday morning when I hear the response. Your pal, Dave. So breakdown. I mean, are we basically being too sensitive over the handling of Leia following Carrie's passing? And this is something, I'm not saying I was shouted down, but this is something where I was very much, let's get on with it, because I think we still honour her by doing that, if that makes sense. I actually said I think we should pay tribute to Leia and Carrie at the same time. So I had no qualms about, look, even if we said farewell to her, we're putting both things to bed at the same time. And some people might say, well, that's a bit of an emotional point scoring pull and so on and so forth. But no, I don't think it is. I think it's just a graceful, farewell and a goodbye and so on and so forth. But we'll see. But I had no issue with them doing a formal farewell. In what form, Paul? Both characters at the same time. Well,
because that I think is the point. Really, is that I'm in wholehearted agreement with you. Is that we need to send them both off simultaneously, because I can't imagine a way to continue Leia's story without Carrie at the heart of it. And so I agree with you. We need to send them both off simultaneously. But how do you do that? I think that's the key here. And
well, Rob mentioned that you could have a situation where we just see a ship have a problem, if you like, or disappear, and we know who's on it. But there's nothing wrong with us in a later scene holding a service. They're having a service, because you don't always get what you want in the form of, what's in the casket and so on and so forth. I know it's a very somber subject, but I'm just answering the question. So I don't see anything wrong. I've got to be honest. I think it'd be quite cool for her. I don't see anything wrong with us saying farewell. To be honest, I think she'd probably giggle at it a little bit. This is a woman that had a large pill of Prozac for her for her ashes. So
she had a sense of humour.
She did, and she was a tough cookie, and she laughed at life and embraced it, and she also challenged it. I don't think anything would be particularly unsavoury. I mean, it'd obviously be done in the best possible tastes, excuse the pun, but that's just something I think is a possibility, and I think we kind of owe it to both characters.
Yeah, I think Rob, why don't you have your say? Because there's something I think that needs to be. There's
something missing from this, I think, and this is the problem I've got now. Is I don't know which episode of Tumbling Saber Dave's referring to, because I've heard an episode where they were talking with great aplomb about the idea of recasting. Yeah, and I don't know whether he means, are we being too sensitive about not recasting? Because
I don't think that does either the character or the lady any justice.
Well, I would agree with that. And so this is the question. This is the problem I've got. Is if the question is, should we kind of let them get on with it? The answer is yes, as long as they're not. For me, the answer is yes, as long as they're not recasting. Beyond that, they could kind of do.
Yeah, and that's the. I think you've just hit the nail right on the head there, actually, Rob, because that's what I think is implied in Dave's question: is, are we being too sensitive? Should we release the character to somebody else to play, or because I've yet to hear this week's Tumbling Saber, so I'm not sure if that's the one that Dave's referring to. But if we let the character get recast, so that the character's arc can be resolved responsibly, and put Carrie behind us, is that, are we being too sensitive by saying that we need to avoid that? Because that's the way I read Dave's question. Is that the way you're seeing it, Rob?
That's it depends. Like I say, it depends on which bit of who was talking Dave agrees with. Ultimately, that's the kind of the consideration. Is if they're, if he's saying we should stop being so sensitive about it in relation to should we think about recasting, then I would say the answer is no. I think that it would be, like Paul said, it would be a disservice to Carrie to Yeah, and the other thing to bear in mind, right? I know we say I think she'd want this. We don't know because we can't ask her. And I really find that line of reasoning, it just seems like a kind of a bit of a way of getting your point, trying to get your point in and leaving people little room to argue the toss, which to me, I mean, I'm not suggesting Dave's doing that. So to be clear,
no.
All I'm saying is that when people say that to me, that's how I take it is, they're saying like, I think that's what they would have wanted. It's like, yeah, but that's your guess as good as mine on that.
Yeah, and if they're saying, if somebody, I get your point. If somebody's saying that to underpin their argument, then I find that troublesome. I would say that.
I don't think depends on how close they were to the character.
Yeah, I'm not saying Dave's doing that.
No, not at all. But I think, I can say, I think Carrie would want to put Leia ahead of herself. There's no way Carrie would ever say, like, I'm that character, and then that's where it ends. Mm-hmm. I think she would probably, I could conceive of her laughing at this and just thinking, let's just put somebody else in the crazy cinnamon bun hairdo and get on with it. I can imagine that. But that is in no way my position. I don't want that to happen.
Yeah. Plus, you can imagine it, but it doesn't mean that in that situation, if we had the ability to inquire, that would be the answer. You can just picture
it's
it.
Just that seems to fit with the character of Carrie Fisher.
It's within the realm of.
She'd say let Gary do it, wouldn't she? So.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, what you're saying is it's within the realm of possibility as far as you're concerned, which is fine.
And I could never imagine her saying, "No, this is mine. Hands off."
Yeah,
but, she's a temporary custodian of Princess Leia, and the character does exist outside of Carrie. It's been written by people. Claudia Gray is also the voice of Leia because of Bloodline. But
that's Leia as played by Carrie Fisher. Let's make no mistake about that. That is Carrie.
Carrie shaped that character, and they're right into suit, of course.
Yeah,
but
and in the same way, that's why the comics are all drawn with her likeness. They don't change they're always drawn like
artists.
Well,
sometimes they can get. I'm looking at one now that looks very, very manga on a comic book
on
my wall.
Yeah, but is it still looking like a manga version of Carrie? Because
it looks like Leia.
Yeah, there you go.
But it is very difficult to separate the two, isn't it? Now, and she's often spoken about that thing about. I'm also a bubble bath, and you can twist my head off and pull pink goo out of my head. I think the answer to Dave's question is yes. Personally speaking, I'm being too oversensitive about this whole situation.
Right.
And I don't think that's a bad thing. I'm completely lost, and I don't know how they can resolve it to appease me. I don't think it's possible. If they recast,
right,
I'm not going to be happy. If they wrap up Leia's story off screen, I'm not going to be happy. And I can't see a way of avoiding either of those things right now. I think the recasting is probably not going to happen, but it seems to me like the only way to address it, because what we're being told about 8's not being changed, is to write Leia out of the story off screen.
Yeah, or it's already been or it's already been done, and we won't know until. I'm going to say, me personally, I don't necessarily think I'm being oversensitive, because my feeling, obviously I've made my feelings clear on how they can handle it gracefully.
Yes.
And I think if I was really dead set against the idea, I wouldn't even venture an opinion on that.
No. Because and I really liked your solution. I thought it was tasteful, and I thought it was respectful, and it's in keeping with Star Wars, certainly.
Yeah,
it's the best option I've heard yet, but it does break one of the tenets that's already been set, which is they would need to change what's been shot for 8, and the only reason I'm rationalising it like that is because Carrie was due to shoot 9. So I can't imagine they shot a scene where she died in 8.
What scope she was due to shoot 9, though.
As I keep coming back to, if there's one franchise where being dead doesn't limit you, it's Star Wars. So she could have been coming in to record. We have no
idea on the context.
Yeah, we don't know whether she was coming back in to record Force Ghost,
She could have been flashback. She could have been
flashback.
anything.
She could have been, she could have been what? She could have been alternate reality. What might have been?
She might be Snoke.
I'm going to send you your Snoke theory sucks.
What's the word for like the that kind of what might have been sort of alternate reality thing that people picture, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That she could have been doing something like that. There's all sorts of permutations of recording that don't require her being still of the mortal coil.
Yeah.
So
I guess that's true.
I say, if there's any franchise where that's true, it's Star Wars and to an extent Harry Potter. But they always need extra bits, don't they? They need kit. Can't do it properly. Can't do it clean. They have to have a magic stone or some other gubbins.
Yeah.
Or the Force.
Yeah, well, we've got our MacGuffin in Star Wars, haven't we? It's already well and truly established. So
what I mean is, there's no tangible physical item that they need to hold, to connect to the other side.
They just need to be a space wizard.
Space wizard.
Well, I think this is going to be. It's kind of a subjective thing, then, isn't it? Because
yes,
I think
totally.
I think I am being oversensitive about it. And it's mainly because I'm confused about what their options are, because I don't possess enough information. And
I'm against recasting, but I don't think that's unreasonable.
Yeah, I'm dead set against it. I think another good word to use for the way I am being about this is precious. I think I'm being precious about Carrie.
Yeah.
And
okay, yeah.
I think that's probably more to the point. And perhaps I need to just chill out a little bit.
The other thing is, we, regardless of anything, we've got to deal with the fact that we're going to have 90 minutes to 120 minutes ahead of us where we're going to see
and not know what's coming.
And we already know, hang on, she's actually left us already. Wow. I mean, that's going to be a big enough dent in most people's viewing experience anyway. So that's why I've been firmly along the idea, look, we know where she really is.
Yeah.
Let's say goodbye gracefully. That's all I've ever said. So, yeah, we can't, unfortunately, bring her back because, we don't have resurrection stones and force ghosts and things, unfortunately, in real life. It would be a beautiful idea because there'd be some, precious people we'd love to bring back and so on and so forth, but we can't. Sure. So I suggest we move on and pay tribute to her. And I don't see anything wrong with using the movie to do that, really.
No, not at all.
What about outside the narrative? Well, we won't spend too long on this, obviously. I don't want to eat up too much of the showtime, but
okay.
Do you think they might do a In Love in Memory of Carrie at the end? In credits?
I don't think it's necessary because they did it at Celebration.
I think they'll do it as part of the it won't be like a,
might just say for Carrie at the end. That's
somewhere in the crawl, but not, like in the end credits crawl, but not. I don't think they'll do like a whole frame. Like it won't take up the screen for like a fixed period of time. It will just be in there.
Like the bottom of the credits, like right towards the end.
In among the credits towards the end, like where they sort of say give the thanks and they do the
I mean, it is a little time. It's going to be a little while after the fact as well. Let's be honest.
Sure. So. Yeah. Is that it's
going to be a year.
Seriously, she might get her own frame, but I wouldn't expect it.
I wouldn't imagine that's how they'd handle it. I wouldn't. It wouldn't surprise me because it's a bit more significant than Jeff, the casting director who passed between Empire and Jedi. It's one of the core characters
The only time it's happened previously is Peter, right? No, excuse me, Kenny Baker.
Yeah,
I don't know who Peter Baker is.
It probably is one.
Yeah, probably.
I'll look him up.
His middle name's
Kenny Baker. we lost him before Rogue One.
Rogue One.
We?
Yeah.
So I guess there wasn't an opportunity to do that in that movie.
Yeah.
Well, there were. I think R2 was in there, wasn't he? Just very, very briefly, but
very briefly. But he was probably not even attached to that scene, was he?
No, probably just a practical, like one of the droid kits on set. But yeah, anyway, Dave, thank you very much for your question. A difficult one, and I completely respect anyone who feels that you should recast and get on with it. I respect that as an option because it might work. I might just not be open to it now, and I might have robbed myself of something beautiful. But right now, no, I'm being too precious about it. I'll freely admit. Okay, let's move on to Corey's question. Corey from Tumbling Saber. Rob, did you want to take this?
I can indeed. So Corey writes, I'm reading. I forgot which way around that goes again. Good day, gentlemen. Hope all is well across the pond, that you're all enjoying one another's company and that you're having a great show. Well, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Try and guess which 2. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Have a bit of a deep question that I was hoping you all could put your thinking caps on for. It has to do with Bendu and the holocrons. Not too sure if the group is into or fully caught up on Rebels, but here we go. In the episode Holocrons of Fate, Bendu explains to Ezra the great power of merging a Sith and Jedi holocron. He also goes on to state that it's not the first time he's seen this type of event take place. So my question is really, why is that when you merge the ultimate source of evil knowledge with that of the light, do you gain ultimate enlightenment? And the answer to any way question you may ask. Do you possibly think there is something more to be interpreted and extrapolated from this fact about ancient Force customs, history, and knowledge? And if you wanted to speculate as to what possible event Bendu is speaking of in the past, how old he may be, or anything you might find interesting about this character's source of power or knowledge of his past, have at it. Again, as always, have a great show, gentlemen. Look forward to hearing your thoughts, and long live the Commonwealth. Cheers with a Z.
With a Z. I actually got a chance to podcast with Corey this week.
He's lovely, isn't he?
He's a lovely guy. I really enjoyed it.
He's lovely. That's one of the upsides of previous times of not being able to attend Celebration is I've been able to podcast with those guys, and they are all just wonderful people.
Yeah. He's a really good guy, really cool guy.
Yeah.
This is. I'm going to have to speak in very loose terms about this because I haven't seen this episode. I don't think. I don't know if I've seen an episode with the Bendu in fully yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to be flying by the seat of my pantaloons on this one, mate.
You haven't seen a Bendu episode yet?
Not in full, no.
Oh, okay. I thought you were caught up.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
Never mind.
I'm all over the place. I've got quite a few gaps to sort of fill. It's because of the slapdash nature of the broadcast schedule in the UK. It's just terrible. So yeah, I've struggled a little bit with it, but you're up to speed, are you not?
I am indeed.
All right, why don't you tackle this one, wrestle this one to the ground, then, mate?
I reckon that the merging of the 2 holocrons, the fact that they're seeding that is to kind of, it's a seeding ahead of the films of the grey being kind of the most potent and most powerful way of sort of attaining knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is one of those ones. I was saying about how they might put like you said about the Ring of Kafrine would go in a passing shot in Rogue One, so it would turn up in Han Solo, and you wouldn't be jarred.
Yes.
What was the one I said? Mustafar would turn up in, or Corellia would turn up in Episode 8, so that the Han Solo movie wouldn't be jarring.
Yep.
That sort of thing. I think that was seeded so that when the grey is broached in Episode 8 and 9, kids don't go, what?
Yeah. Yes, and it purely for the kids, because I think that's
it's there for fan service as well.
I think that I couldn't agree with you more. I think it is like that thing of showing it's laying the foundation for the grey, and I think that when you get to be a more sophisticated viewer as an older person, that you've lived with the story and the archetypes for a while, you can kind of see, there was probably, Palpatine said this himself in Episode 3 about, the Jedi are weak because they've, Anakin's weak because the Jedi haven't told him everything about the Sith.
Yeah.
And if you want to be knowledgeable about something, you have to study every aspect of it, and that includes the Sith and the dogma of the Jedi. I'm paraphrasing, but to me, it seems logical that using both light and dark side will make you stronger because you'll have an appreciation for both, and that's what we saw Luke do, I believe, in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, we saw some dabbling.
But the majority of the adult audience for Star Wars won't have seen Rebels.
True.
Because that's still quite niche, whether we like it or not.
That's true. This is true.
But this will do a lot to sort of give children who have less life experience, it will introduce the concept to them. Mm-hmm. You can have a little bit of both in your life as long as you get the balance right. So it's a good, it's a good tool to sort of prep the younger kids when they see Luke potentially being a bit of both in The Last Jedi. Using a bit of both disciplines, yes.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's, I think you're bang on. I think that the reason it's in Rebels is because kids might need it a bit more. It might need it seeded a bit more than adults will accept it more readily.
Mm-hmm.
Especially as adults. I mean, I'm talking physical adults. I mean, obviously, emotionally, you can be as old as you like, as I'm one to prove. And the adults also have more ability and more scope to do research about things like the Grey, and more likely to have read the novel where they talk about the Grey with refined Jedi sight.
Mm-hmm.
All these sort of things are all more likely and more palatable if you're an adult than a child,
and picking things up through subtext as well.
Exactly, yeah. So and there are obviously there are adults. I know a few who studied film and stuff and can do those things even more readily than your average sort of everyman.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is, it gives kids that little bit more nudge in the direction of when you hear it again, you won't be surprised. That's kind of what it boils down to for me.
Yeah. And it's even some of the Rebels viewers, when we've seen some of the stuff Ezra's done, our first thing was, running a flag up the pole saying he's going to the dark side, but it's not.
No.
He's taking this approach of, if it works, I can use a little bit of the dark side. It works.
Yeah.
And in a way, I know I'm going off the beaten track here a little bit, and I do apologise, but it kind of...
It's Star Wars, mate. It's what we do.
Indeed. It kind of reframes some of Yoda and Obi-Wan's directions to Luke in the original trilogy, because I've always been the one that says they made a mistake by saying to Luke, you've got to take down Vader and Sidious or the Emperor, because that's not the Jedi way. The Jedi, we've been told, and we were told by Yoda in those movies, knowledge and defense, never attack, but they're sending him off to kill Vader.
Yeah.
So are they doing that? Could some of this that we're seeing now with the Grey and like the Bendu instructing Ezra to merge Sith and Jedi holocrons, and in a way that's kind of merging Sith and Jedi disciplines.
Yep.
For a better worldview, a more rounded appreciation of what the Force is it being done to justify the actions taken by Yoda and Obi-Wan to a certain degree, do you think? Is it reframing their decision to send Luke off the way they did? They kind of pushed him towards the dark side. Yeah.
I don't know. I suppose so. I mean, it would be nice in a way, but it would also be annoying because we're already talking about how it's the actions that, the prequels, they have reframed certain things already that, things like they've filled in some of the gaps of the mysticism behind the Force in the prequels and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, people are a little bit wary of things like that generally. But I think stuff like Rebels makes it sort of subtly more, like I say, it just makes it subtly more palatable. And just by putting it in a kid's show, like I say, kids get something out of it because they aren't surprised when later on, Luke talks about merging holocrons. They go, "Oh, I've heard of that. I've seen it in Rebels."
Yeah.
And for adults, like you said, they're looking up subtext and they're studying film and they're more understanding of these things.
Yeah. Well, it's very interesting.
Did I answer your question there? I went off on one a bit. Did I actually answer the point you asked me?
Yeah, not directly. I don't. But then I think it might have been as I was asking the question, I thought, well, it's not the case, and I'm being flippant. That you don't introduce a concept like the Grey to explain away decisions made by characters in the original.
Sorry, yes, that was the question.
That it's not. But it's a worthless question, Rob, and it's probably it's misguided. Really, it's not. There's no way they're doing this. This does what this serves to do is it enhances the Force, and it builds on the fact that the thing we celebrate Star Wars. The thing I love about Star Wars is the clear separation between good and evil.
Yeah.
And they're very, very clear who are your heroes and who are your villains.
Mm-hmm.
And now this is getting to be much more contemporary, where it's not so clear. If you're gonna have a hero like Luke, you might see him do some stuff that you would recognise as being evil. Possibly, maybe that's a little bit arch, but we're being tenderized ahead of time with Ahsoka's story, and now with this stuff in Rebels, we're being tenderized so that that's not such a shock to the system when we see it.
Yeah.
If Luke says to Rey, if he has Palpatine's line that you have to appreciate both sides of the Force in order to understand it fully, that might come as a bit of a jolt if you're not introduced to the concept of the grey ahead of time.
Yeah, exactly. And we've also had characters who don't have the strength of the Force, but they have the kind of the dabbling, they have the vague, some sensitivity to it, like Chirrut Imwe and
Maz.
Lyra Erso in the original draft, so that's not really explicitly stated. But I feel like there's something in Catalyst that kind of alludes to it as well, about her having some sort of vague attunement, but not particular strength.
Yeah, she has an appreciation for the Force. She's not just a scientist. She's
like a Chirrut, she's got that same kind of, vague awareness of what's going on.
And we've got Maz in the main saga story as well.
We got Maz in the main saga story, exactly. They're slowly introducing these complicated, these kind of it's more complicated than that characters,
and it would be. Sorry, Rob.
So I was just going to finish so that when Luke talks about dabbling in merging holocrons and studying Sith texts, we don't go, what?
Yeah. And that door could swing both ways as well, and that might be what Snoke is.
Yeah.
He might be firmly between the two, and that's why Kylo appealed to him, because he had those qualities.
Yeah.
Maybe that's who Snoke is. So we're going to have the hero of the piece and the villain of the piece that are very, very similar.
Just going about it for different means, maybe.
Coming out with exactly the same disciplines,
except for different goals.
Yeah, and the Jedi and the Sith were the opposite sides of a coin, really, weren't they? But
sure.
With these characters now, maybe they're doing exactly the same thing. And that Paul's just distracted me with a message in the group. They're doing exactly the same thing, but with different intentions. Kind of interesting. All right, before we move, Paul, you can jump back in if you want. It doesn't require too much.
The second part of this question.
What about the age of Bendu? What do you think about this?
I think he's well old.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
As in a millennia or something along those lines.
Oh, okay.
Because actually, one of the things that crossed my mind when he said, where do you sort of think that happened before? I was thinking it would be quite cool if they adjusted the canon to make it Bane's arc,
right?
To Darth Bane,
yes.
So that's why he creates the rule of two, is because he gains. His question is how do I keep the Sith alive, and they're like kill most of it.
Yeah,
I think that'd be awesome.
And Bendu would have witnessed that,
maybe. Or he might have been aware. He doesn't have to have seen it to be aware of it.
No, that's true.
But, he can... What is his exact words? I think Corey quoted it, didn't he? This is not the first time he's seen this type of event take place. But he didn't see more than Ezra do it, because he wasn't in the room. So he's seen it without seeing it, because he's well good.
Yeah.
Well powerful and stuff, innit?
I wonder if some of that is cautionary as well. I've seen this before. I've seen where it leads. And the fact that it's not practiced readily in the age of the Jedi since the fall of the Sith. Perhaps that's for good reason.
Yeah, maybe.
Perhaps the grey is the path to disaster.
Oh yeah, that's quite possible. I didn't think of that. That's quite cool.
It could be the catalyst that reignites something like the Sith Order. Maybe that came about when perhaps if we go right back to Sheev and and Sheev Palpatine and the start of his research. He says, I understand the Force and I've studied all of its aspects. Perhaps he was once Ezra, and he was the first person in a millennia to put these two holocrons together and unlock everything.
Yeah.
Or maybe that was Plagueis.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe, that maybe this is the first steps towards it all kicking off again, is when you get people start to think outside the box and dabble with elements that should be separate at all times.
Yeah.
And maybe that line from the Bendu is a cautionary line.
Mm-hmm.
But it is I think he's going to be old. I think he's going to be ancient. I agree with you. Probably older than Yoda, because that's where we see knowledge in Star Wars. It's in the older generation, isn't it? It's in the ancient ones.
Mm-hmm.
And Paul's getting old as we speak. What do you mean getting old, Paul?
Older.
Let's wrap up Corey's question, because it is
Paul's
fantastic.
dying a little inside.
Paul would love to contribute to the conversation, but he hasn't seen
I bet.
Rebels. I've seen precious few
I
episodes.
can't even spell Rebel.
So, but Corey, this is incredible. I hope that we've hit a couple of bits for you in there.
Hope you dig it.
I hope you do dig it with a Z. I don't know if that works. It doesn't.
Nope.
But the
I know.
I think that maybe this Bendu thing is cautionary, and the combination of the two disciplines could be the spark that ignites the next fall or the next rise of evil.
Yeah, could be.
Thanks ever so much, Corey. We're going to go now and hear from your brother. So I'll take Kyle's if that's cool.
Yeah.
So Kyle at Tumbling Saber. Hey gang, I hope all is well. I've got a random thought based on my latest viewing of Return of the Jedi. Upon arriving at the shield generator, Han tells Leia, Chewie and me got into places a lot more heavily guarded than this. And my question to you is, will we see proof of this in the Han Solo standalone film? Or do you think Han was self-aggrandizing? Have fun kicking this around. Cheers, Kyle. Cheers with an S from Kyle, because he's not as adventurous as Corey. So breakdown, will we see Han and Chewie prove how good they are in the Solo movie, or is Han simply full of it?
I think Han's a little full of it, frankly.
I don't want him to prove it. I want it to be bluster.
He comes across very often as a bit of a bumbling fool in, the original trilogy, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Bolting around corners and there's 3,000 stormtroopers, sort of situation. The Falcon never really worked properly, sort of thing. I think there's almost a bit of Indiana Jones about it, unfortunately, because, it's sort of bumble your way to success, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Has he got a copy of that on his nightstand? Does he bumble your way to success?
So that's kind of what seems to happen with him.
An idiot's
to a small degree.
Be a scoundrel.
I mean, you look at him on Endor. He lets them down on Endor.
Stepping on the twig and things like that.
Yeah, stepping on the twig, and then Leia makes friends, and then C-3PO becomes a god. So again, it's nothing really to do with Han. And I got to be honest. I think the only time we really see him shine is flying through the asteroid field, and what was the other instance I just thought of?
Well, there are a few. I mean, the real act of heroism on Han's part was on Bespin, when he willfully took one for the team.
Willfully?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he could have gone out. They could have gone out all guns blazing, but
they didn't have a prayer. They didn't have a prayer.
No, exactly. But that shows that he's not the cocky gunslinger that he'd like to think of himself as. He and Chewie could have easily opened fire and sort of backed out of that room and got everybody killed.
Did they have weapons?
Well, Han certainly did. But he knew enough to sort of say that now's not the time, because he knew in action.
Hang on a minute. When did Han have a weapon in that room?
When the doors open and Vader's there, he fires at Vader.
Okay, so he hasn't got a weapon. That's my point.
No. He fires at Vader, doesn't he? Before it's taken away.
Okay.
But they could have, it could have gone a lot more pear-shaped than that. I suppose you're right, actually, because Vader does whip the laser gun away from him, doesn't he? But and
then he gets frozen anyway.
But that's the whole thing. That entire act where he's sort of talking Chewie down and saying, no, this is, you've got to keep her safe. He knows, he accepts his fate. That's a true act of heroism from Han. And it's not, I think that there is so much swagger and bluster with that character. It's almost like his packaging, isn't it? this is the
Yeah.
brand you're buying into. It's
But
Captain
I
Solo.
think we're accepting the fact. I mean, he's not more than 2 degrees. He's just a space pirate version of Jack Sparrow, really, isn't he? Like I say, we love him because he's cool.
Yeah, but he
We don't
fouls
love
up.
him because he's awesome. Because he's not. He's just cool. Difference between a farm boy and a cocky pirate. You're going to go for the cocky pirate, aren't you? So, especially when we originally fell in love with Han, that was the whole point of him.
Yeah, their arcs are very different, aren't they? Because Luke's arc was to go from powerless to powerful.
Yeah.
And Han's arc was to go from self.
You think of it, at the end of
selfless.
Jedi, if you're going into a dark room, which one are you going to want to be with? I'm going to take Luke, I'm afraid.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there.
So, yeah. But, I mean, as to, he says things like, even I get bored sometimes. Yeah, that's because he's always running away. I don't think it was a case of I don't think he's particularly confrontational. I think he's just good at talking himself out of situations and so on, which we saw a little bit of in TFA.
We did.
But it would be fun. I mean, other than the cut, what happened on the chopping floor, do we have still a solid base as why Jabba is so wanted? Put a bounty on him. What was the absolute reason for Jabba's bounty?
I don't think we know, Rob. There's nothing in new canon about this yet, is there?
See, that's
about what? Sorry,
about
Jabba's
the bounty.
The bounty, not that I know of. No.
So I think that might be kind of cool.
Well, this is something
Jabba, for those ends, he's got like. Vader actually arranged for about 8 bounty hunters to appear on the Avenger or whatever it was at the time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But it was all for Jabba. I mean, Boba Fett was all for like, there's a good bounty on this. This is why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. So it would be kind of cool to see what Han and Chewie do to Jabba.
Yeah, I think that was something that we'd suggested a while back when Rob that it might be that Jabba was smuggling like Wookiees, slaves for the Empire, and that was just a step too far for Han.
Mm-hmm.
And he might have, instead of, like, traditionally it was dumping a cargo, wasn't it?
Yes.
But we speculated that because that's still in canon, because that's something that Greedo says, but that cargo could well have been people or Wookiees. And it might be, it's not like the smuggler was just jettisoning spice because he was cowardly. It's more like, no, I'm going to save these Wookiees from slavery, and that's what cut his ties with the underworld.
Because it's not just about, at that point, it's not just about the value of the cargo, it's about the value of the work that they would also perform under servitude. So there's a bigger kind of cost to if that's the case.
Slavery was rife on Tatooine, wasn't it?
Well, there you go.
Yeah, and this I think would set up, perhaps, if they're manufacturing, if they're using Wookiee labour on Scarif or on wherever they're constructing the Death Star. If they're using Wookiee labour for that, it ties in nicely to the saga, the main spine of the saga story, doesn't it? That Han struck a blow. If it reframes Han with a little bit more nobility than we saw in episode 4, because we're told, well, you're a smuggler, you dump your cargo to save your own hide.
And you only care about money.
Yeah. But what we're seeing now is they can cognitively reframe that in the Han Solo movie by saying that's how he saved Chewie. That's where the life debt came from. Because he was smuggling, unbeknownst to him, he was smuggling Wookiees. Smuggling Chewie's what?
They're clones as well. Blimey.
No, that was a possessive. Smuggling Chewie's.
Oh, it's the sweets.
Pot noodle. Yeah, it's sweet.
He's smuggling Chewies.
Yeah.
Right.
No, he's smuggling Wookiees for the Empire. For Jabba, who's working for the Empire. And that could explain why Jabba's been given a free pass out there on the Outer Rim, because he's done a lot of work for the Empire. So it ticks an awful lot of boxes.
Yeah, for sure.
And it would be really nice, because it would, next time you watch A New Hope, Han would seem different to you because he's already a noble man. So that might be something we see. So I'd say, this is bravado. All of this, we broke into heavier places than this. Chewie's probably shaking his head, like he did in TFA. Oh God, no, you never get this right. And that's not the case. But Han is a more of a hero than I think we realise right now.
Yeah.
Because he looks like just this buffoon who's failing up all the time. Even in Jedi, stepping on twigs and giving their position away and stuff like that. And obviously walking straight into a trap. But it's a trap. But yeah,
It's a
no.
trap.
I hope that we see. So I hope that we're surprised and we see this nobility in Han in the new movie, and not necessarily, like you say, Paul, a space version of Jack Sparrow.
There's nothing wrong with a space version of Jack Sparrow.
No, but you know, I want a little extra. If we're seeing this character on screen again, I'd like a little more detail thrown in there.
Yeah, don't expect too much nobility though, because I got the feeling if they are going to sell this as like a little bit like a galaxy far, far away, tongue-in-cheek situation, cowboy thing, then I'm not saying this is going to be a comedy by any shape or means, but I wouldn't hold your breath on the nobility situation.
Well,
that's all.
you know what really works well to me, Paul, is I don't know, you guys, do you watch Friends? Are you fans of Friends?
I've probably seen a good chunk of the episodes.
All 24 years, about 24,000 times, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of them. And one of the things that show does really well, and it does a lot of things well, but what it does really well is it cuts the comedy with drama. There's a lot of stuff, so...
Yeah. Did it a lot more in the latter seasons.
It kind of sucks the air out of the room when they hit like a dramatic note in a comedy. And there's comedy around it, but there's a dramatic note. It doesn't have to be morose or morbid, but I think something like Han with the swagger and the bravado and all of his lies would be humorous, and some of the adventures would be exciting and fun. But to have something like this story where he put a price on his head by standing up for what he truly believes in would be that dramatic note in the comedy that just sweetens the sour, or just, it's the perfect mix, I think, and it could be done really, really well.
What he's got to do is, in the movie, he goes to Maz's place and he hears some kind of voices or screaming or something, and then he goes down some stairs and he grabs an item that shows him his own death in about 40 years.
He's like, oh, what?
You gotta be kidding me! Right, I will be in it for the money.
When I get a hot wife.
yeah,
that's true. That bikini's down there as well. Yeah, that would be great if the entirety of the Han Solo movie is just flash forwards to the films we've already seen, like a greatest hits.
Yeah, he just sees like a soothsayer on Corellia, and they're just like, "You're never going to believe, right? Some of the stuff you get up to." And
yeah.
Well, show me. And it's just that's it. Just clips. It's like a best of.
Yeah, and they did that in Friends a lot too.
Yeah.
Kyle, guys, have you got anything you want to add to this before we move on?
No, I just want to see. I mean, Chewie and I don't know. It's like, I mean, I still get an impression that the guy's a bit of a runner rather than a breaking into something, guards and so on and so forth. I mean, we see a little bit of that with Endor, obviously, but he got a lot of teddy bear help as well. So
true.
Yeah, I don't know.
Rob, anything else you want to say on this before we move on?
No, I think that's covered it pretty, and then some.
Yeah, no, as we all want to do. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think that it should be fun and everything. I would just love if that colour shows up. That all right, Han is this foolhardy braggart, but inside he put a price on his own head by standing up for what he truly believes in. That would be the thing I would like to see more than him and Chewie doing cool stuff, breaking into things. I really want to see something more heroic from Han. Okay, let's jump forward to Andy's question. Paul, do you want to take
Okie dokie.
this one?
Oh man, it's long. Okay, good. Right, from Andy Smith. Okay, I've just seen the first line. Right, hi, Mark, Rob, Paul, and Keith. It is Keith, right? No, okay, all right. It is Steve. Fair play, and I'm the end, by the way, not Keith.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to skip over the part.
Keith.
No, yeah, and I'm not Keith either, and I'm the end. It's getting confusing now. I'm going to skip over the part of the email that gives you guys big heads. Insert the Rob. Oh, fine.
Sorry.
You're not keeping up, are you? No, you've ruined it. I've talked over it and all sorts. As I'm sure by now you'll all know how wonderful you are. And cut right to the chase. I know this is a point that you've touched on before, but I was hoping for more of a left field kind of answer to my question. And that is, what would you like to see in the future of the Wars? Ooh. There are there are obvious answers for this. Obi-Wan, Boba Fett, and another trilogy. But what I want to know is there any outstandingly bizarre ideas that you think you'd like to see from the franchise, be it books, comics, games, or movies? I, for one, would like to see a creation of Force story akin to the fantastic piece of fiction, the Bible. Imagine the first. This is where I was going. Oh, anyway,
This is your answer,
imagine the
isn't it,
first. Yeah, well, kind of. Yeah, this is my answer to like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, imagine the first Force-sensitive person realizing their potential. The beginning of the Force, two Force beings going their separate ways, one dark, one light. The birth of the Jedi and the rise of the Sith. Pre-spaceships and lightsabers, etc. Absolutely epic. This is one idea I've mulled around. Oh, sorry, I've mulled over, but failing that, I definitely think there's room for a Steve Irwin style monster showing the Rancor Keeper of a drama. Sorry, showing the Rancor Keeper or a drama series like Netflix to get down about the Max Rebo band. I'd like to give you more of a discussion on the topic, but you could probably tell me what Luke ate for breakfast in the morning. He blew up the Death Star. I used to think I was a Star Wars nerd until I started listening to this podcast, but now I realize you guys are something else, apart from Keith. Wait, his blue cat fetish.
Don't sell Paul short. Paul's got a blue. He's got a thing for the old blues as well.
Guys, anyway, may the Force be with you. Long live the Commonwealth, Smithfield. That's nice. That's a cool question. It is something we've visited a few times, but just the coolness in its scripture alone is worth saying.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I enjoyed that a lot.
So anyway, in a nutshell, what do we want from the Star Wars projects? Rob, fire away, sir.
Well, let's see. I would like a TV series set during the Galactic Civil War about the rebellion, but not in the same way as Rebels has done, but between New Hope and Empire. So all about them sort of trying to find a new settlement to call home, and how they build from the Death Star being destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see it on screen, but I'd be okay with it touching on existing characters. Oh my!
Ooh.
But I would want them to kind of drift in and out like Rebels does, where it's like Mon Mothma's in an episode and then she's not for the rest of the thing, and then Lando pops up and then he's gone, and that sort of thing. I'd be more on board with that sort of thing rather than basing it around around the established character. I'd like them to set up some new characters, but also kind of every now and then just be like, oh, here's one you'll know. Also, Catherine Bigelow Clone Wars movie, still not got one of those, so that's going to stay on my list.
Yeah, no, that's a good call. I like that.
Yeah, I'd like that a lot. And Tamora Morrison doing the voices, because bless him, he's been deprived of his chops in Battlefront 2.
Oh,
they're
really?
They're using a really good voice actor. It's one who has pedigree, because it's D. Bradley Baker.
Right. But he's doing clones' voices.
I wish. He's doing clone voices because he's got a really good distinction between different clones, and I'm guessing you're going to be able to play as one of them as a hero or something. But I'd like to see Tamora Morrison have the opportunity to do something again.
D. Baker did the Clone Wars, right? On TV.
He did, yeah, that's right. But yeah, I'd like to see kind of, maybe the pair of them could kind of collaborate and cover it all between them. It's like a tag team. That'd be pretty cool.
Why not, indeed?
Yeah, so I'd like those two things. That would be awesome. I'd like a new video games, like story-driven ones.
Yeah.
I know that there's the Amy Hennig product has still not been unveiled, so I'm optimistic that's from the bits I've seen of kind of the rumblings I've seen, they look rather excellent. It looks like a sort of open world third-person action game, which is right up my street. And if that holds water, then that would be rather good.
Cool.
But those three things. And also a Thrawn pop, but I think that's coming already.
Is that not?
Thrawn
pop? That's
I think
not
it's.
San
I think
Diego,
it's. No, but I think it's. Like I say, if it's not already a thing, it's coming.
Yeah,
in fact, it's already a thing.
Oh, is it? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I would like.
Sorry.
Sorry.
That's fine. I found it on eBay. It was a celebration thing.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. So give that a couple of months, I'll be able to get one of them cheap.
I would like to see Luke's story after Jedi, and I would like to see it across multiple forms of media. And I hope that this is what they're doing now with the reboot the franchise and tell the remaining story of the Skywalkers in the saga, but go right back to the morning after Return of the Jedi and then hit us with a series of books, comic books, video games, audio dramas, and movies that tell Luke's story from that point all the way up to The Force Awakens.
That works for me.
Because there's a massive gap in Luke's story, and I would like to see it. I'd like them to blanket bomb every media with it. Once this Skywalker saga is wrapped up, and all the road to The Force Awakens and the road to The Last Jedi, all of that stuff's gone away. Focus on the period between the movies, and you can still make your Star Wars stories, still make all your fresh stuff off every Christmas or every summer, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But as long as I'm getting Mark as Luke in some form or another. You can have Sebastian Stan play it in movies if you want, I don't mind.
Fine.
But I'd like, if we're going to do audio dramas, get Mark in there and do like really well produced audio dramas.
Oh, you don't have to worry about that with Star Wars. They're always top notch.
They're really, really good, aren't they?
They're
but
awesome.
I mean with multiple cast members and really sort of throw everything at it, you know. So
like a production thing.
And you could just get lost in this thing for years, couldn't you? Learning what Luke did and Law Santeca did after Return of the Jedi, everything that leads up to what we've just seen in these movies. That's what I'd like.
That's cool. Sounds good.
Paul?
Well, I've said for some time I want to see the absolute beginnings of all of it. So the whole Bible thing is, I mean, I want to see way, you know, the beginnings, literally.
The dawn of the Jedi.
The dawn of everything.
Era. Yeah.
I also think from a book's point of view, they should just give us the Journal of the Wills, please. As a whole volume
as a book. Okay.
Whatever. Yeah, that'd be great.
That'd be cool.
And more simply, from a story point of view, I'm still, as I think is fairly obvious, I'm still a massive fan of a very particular time in the Star Wars saga. I'm a big Rogue One, A New Hope kind of guy. I'd love to see, please excuse the context in which I'm producing this, but I'd like to see some kind of roots-based story about 2 or 3 people who are slaves to the construction of the Death Star.
Okay.
And what they go through and daily life, and are they plotting to get away? Are they trying to, you know, how can I get out of this situation, and so on and so forth. So that might be interesting too. So,
interesting.
That could be interesting, like a great escape type. You keep that heist spirit.
Yeah. So
that sounds interesting.
I'm a big fan of radio because it drives the imagination a little further. I do love just listening to audio and stuff.
Yeah.
So anything post Jedi or between Empire and Jedi audio would be pretty damned awesome as well.
Yeah. Do you do the audio books, Paul? Because if not, you totally should. They're awesome.
No, actually.
Oh, dude, you totally have to.
There's some great stuff out there, Paul. Not just Star Wars either. The Star Wars ones, I know that they're bringing more to Audible in the UK.
Yes, they should really need to, because we're quite far behind in places, and it seems a bit.
I don't know if you noticed, Rob, but on their site there's a thing, what do you want, what can we add? And it's all done under a banner of Bloodline.
You say audio books, I prefer audio play.
Yeah, well, they're not far off, though.
Too.
They're not far off. You know, I've just been I've just been getting caught up on some John Grisham stuff on audio books, because there really isn't much else out there that tickles my fancy right now. And it's a pretty dry read. You know, you've got an actor, and they're really good actors that do the readings, but then they will do what you just said about Dee Baker, Rob, where they can sort of colour their voice performance a little bit so you can see the different characters that are being played at any given time. But with the Star Wars books, you have the scores and you have sound effects. Yep. And there's atmosphere in there as well. It's still only one voice.
Okay, give it a shot.
Yeah. Even the ones that aren't canon anymore are still well worth a listen, because they're still top-notch production values.
You tried any of the Alien ones, Rob?
I have. I've done both.
Yeah, I've just done River of
production. Yeah, production-wise, they're good. River of Pain. Right?
Yeah, the production is stronger than the actual narrative,
I like the narrative in the second one. The first one was had a massive cop-out ending.
Yes, it really did. It did
but like I say, again, production value was awesome. And the performance was good. It's just, it was a bit, like I say, it just ended and I was like, oh, come on.
The woman that did Sigourney Weaver in the second...
She nails it.
Oh, I kept thinking, this must be her.
It must be, yeah. They must have just taken the audio from the relevant bits.
It was incredible.
But no, that's not the case.
I mean, from the point of view of audio, something else I'd like to see is the entire... Every volume of movie, we've got the currently all of the best score done by, Smashing Pumpkins and Elbow and Depeche Mode and things like that. A really, really great soundtrack done by awesome rock bands. That'd be something cool too. I mean, I know Metallica and that have done things like the Imperial March with electric guitars. I'm not talking that. I want, let's go. I mean, he said left field. I love left field. I'm always left field. Sort of thing. And so let's be a bit adventurous. I'd like to hear, various aspects of the soundtrack done by, Yoda's theme done by Smashing Pumpkins or something like that. It'd be quite different.
If we are in the left field, then why not invite these bands to write original pieces based on
scenes or something?
I'd love to see Elbow do some of the stories about a day in the life on the Death Star or something, because they're one of my favourite bands, and I just think
they've also got, they're very clever in the way they craft their music, to be honest. So, obviously,
lyrically, the stories that guy tells are just incredible.
They're insane. Yeah. Anyway, so I think enough here to copyright a lot of money, guys. What do you think?
Yeah. Thanks, Andy. Well, maybe we'll cut you in on some of that.
We'll give you 5%.
5?
3 then, sorry.
Yeah, let's move swiftly on. Andy, what a superb question. And I find it amazing that we managed to come up with fresh ideas, because we have touched on this previously. But it's clear where our hearts lie, I think, and that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, indeed.
Okay, superb. Right, we're going to go to our break now then. Thanks to everyone for their questions. And Dan Solo, I did get your question, but because the board was pretty full, I've stuck a pin in it and we'll add it to next week. So we will take our break now. When we come back, we're going to go straight to Connor's Corner. If you'd like to support what we do here at Talk Star Wars, you can do so by becoming a TSW sponsor. For as little as £1 per month, given securely via PayPal, you'll help us keep the lights on here at Talk Star Wars. When you become a TSW sponsor, we will automatically make you a TSW VIP. As a VIP, you'll get access to an exclusive stream of content that provides you with a daily podcast called the TSW Kessel Run, membership to the TSW VIP Facebook group, priority releases of shows such as the TSW Toy Box and TSW Comics. You'll also get priority access to the TSW Feature Com series and weekly Facebook Live and AMA sessions. There are also newsletters and a monthly prize draw. Head to talkstarwars.co.uk/support and become a TSW sponsor today, and the Force will be with you, always.
And we're back. So you've just heard about how you can become a TSW VIP by going to talkstarwars.co.uk/support, just like Connor did. And as is customary, it's time to hear from Connor's Corner featuring Leo. So Connor writes thusly. Good day, gents. All is well with you, I hope. Oh, I didn't see the I hope at the moment. I was like, that's a bit forceful. All is well with you. Don't even question it. Everything's fine. All is well with you, I hope, and you're in good health. So over the last week, Leo and I were off to the cinema to see the excellent Wonder Woman, when, much to our surprise, my 12-year-old daughter asked if she could go with us. Now, this may not sound strange to you, gents, but the cinema outings for us are usually a boys' own event, mainly because of the subject and content of the feature sci-fi, fantasy, superhero, male-driven boys' own stuff. This request from my daughter Nina got a reaction from Leo asking, she's coming, why? Which got the response of, it's about a girl superhero, what do you think? Duh. Feel free to add any stereotypical stroppy preteen girl's voice for effect. You're more than likely bang on. Kids, little nerf herders. I did my best, Connor. There's only so much I can do without slamming certain things indoors. So back to topic. Diana Prince, Katniss Everdeen, Rey, Jyn Erso, and the upcoming Captain Marvel. I'm sure I've left some out. I'm also sure you gents will fill in the blanks. No longer is the female presence in the movie, therefore, the, oh, she's nice part of the film, but have become a viable, credible, and if Wonder Woman and other female-led projects are proven, bankable movies. Now, I know strong females isn't a new thing in cinema, but this would suggest to me that we're seeing a dynamic shift within these big Hollywood corporations, with female executives calling the shots and directing. Some people do have a problem with the above-mentioned Wonder Woman film, suggesting it is made for girls, and others suggesting it was made for men to watch because of the nature of the Wonder Woman costume. I say take from it what you want. I can tell you the three of us left the cinema and thoroughly enjoyed what we'd seen. I'm really interested to know what the conversation was on the way back. Maybe Nina had more interesting insights into Star Wars I hadn't considered.
Yeah.
I know this isn't strictly a Star Wars related question, but going forward into future, the way I see it, anything that breaks down the barriers of cinema entertainment to get young and not so young females included into the male-centric sci-fi genre is good by me. I can't wait until my daughter can see Rey kicking butt in The Last Jedi. Male and female butt, that is. Thanks, guys, for everything you bring us every week. We love it. This email was brought to you by Wade's Speederbike Emporium, the noisiest way to get seen and heard.
There's another T-shirt. I think you're writing these things down.
Yeah, it really should. I don't just bank out these mad impressions for nothing, you know. Mad quality. All right, so what's the breakdown then? What are we saying? What are we talking about? What's going on?
What are you talking about, Willis? It is there.
So yeah, do you guys think we're seeing a renaissance of movie kind of focus, or is it just a kind of, what's the word? Phase is the wrong word.
I'm just wondering if it's almost coincidental, to be honest.
Coincidental in what respect?
In respect that we've got Rey as a nice new entity within Star Wars kicking butt, and we've got Wonder Woman come along, but that was going to happen anyway because of the whole Marvel DC competition, and she's one of the biggest characters. I just see it as a very, very enjoyable, useful, and worthwhile coincidence, and let's praise it for what it is. But along the way, if they want to make another movie with Judge Anderson in, I'm all for it, man.
Cool.
I think there is a bit of a
sequel. Sequel.
I think there is a bit of a renaissance going on here. To be honest, I think that there's something to be said for people like Kathy Kennedy, who have been blazing trails since the 80s.
Yeah,
behind the camera, you know, as power play producers, and our beloved Carrie was there deconstructing and rebuilding female characters since the 70s. And it's taken until now for us to get to a place where a company the size of Warner Brothers has had enough faith in a female-led franchise to put her out front and centre in a tentpole position. And I have to say, being on the inside of the industry, it didn't get as wide a release as perhaps it should have. If it was Batman, it'd have been in twice as many theatres as Wonder Woman. And it would have been twice as accessible. So you would have stripped the gimmicks of like 3D and IMAX away from it and made it possible for... Isn't
that partly because Batman has 20 years of cinema history to draw on in terms of what you can expect? Whereas obviously this was the first Wonder Woman movie for what, 60 plus years? No, that can't be right.
Maybe ever. I don't know if there was a Wonder Woman movie before, maybe a TV movie with Linda Carter.
Maybe that's one thing. It wouldn't be 60 years. What am I talking about?
No, you're talking about still having a huge budget franchise, and it's already part of a franchise, because let's not forget she was already the best part of Batman v Superman, right?
I like Affleck, to be honest, but and that also I've seen the Ultimate Cut, which is way better. So
yeah, whenever she rocked up on the screen, I think she had a nice theme bringing her on.
43 minutes, 43 years. Sorry, since the last Wonder Woman
was
movie.
It a movie?
70. They did one in 74, which was a pilot movie with Kathy Lee Crosby.
Oh, really? Okay. But this is like a huge budgeted movie upon which the future of DC's expanded universe is based. The success of this movie is based. And not only that, it's a female director, Patty Jenkins, being given the reins of this gigantic budgeted movie. When does that ever happen?
Yeah, it's true. Kathy Bigelow.
When's the last time she helmed a $200 million movie?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer.
Yeah, but she makes $4 million movies look like $200 million movies.
She does. And the thing is, the films she makes I don't know what 0 Dark
Well, not
30...
look like, but certainly has the impact of.
Yeah, but they don't need... Hurt Locker didn't need a budget to be impactful because that had story. But these event movies, they don't necessarily have the story or the social importance that a film
I know,
like
but I mean,
Hurt
look
Locker
what McGee. I mean, changing it a little bit. Look what McGee did with the Charlie's Angels thing. But it wasn't a renaissance of female leads coming in. It was just, it was a new. What's the word I'm looking for? Oh, goodness me, what do you call it? A new genre was rebooted and so on. And it just happened to be a genre of the Charlie's Angels thing. Now, we can't avoid the fact that when we start looking at superheroes, eventually there's going to be a couple of females might come along and they might make a film about them. So I'm not taking anything away from this. I hope it is massive, massive, massive. But I don't see it as a renaissance of any particular fashion. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there, Paul. I think I know where you're coming from, and I think I'm on board.
Because next along the line, we're going to not see Wonder Woman, and we're going to Aquaman next.
Next one's Justice League, which she's in.
Which she's in, but then there's talk of an Aquaman movie, and there might be there's another Ant-Man possibly, and does that mean that Renaissance starts diluting again?
No, because I think it's already, we've been in the throes of it now for years, and Wonder Woman's just another step towards this becoming mainstream. So we've already had, if you look at Marvel, for example, they've had the Black Widow in the Avengers movies, but they've never really had the guts to put her in her own film, which would be a Bourne-style movie.
I don't know that she could. I don't know if she could carry a whole movie by herself. That's part of the problem. I think is I don't
many people
really
said that before they rolled cameras on Wonder Woman.
Well, no, Wonder Woman's got significantly more pedigree behind her. She's one of the most important characters in. She's one of the Trinity.
A god from another planet kind of situation, isn't she?
She's one of the Trinity in DC.
That's a different characterization.
Incredibly important.
It makes you wonder why they got it wrong so consistently then, because there was a TV show a couple of years ago that just got shelved immediately, didn't it?
What, the Wonder Woman one?
Yeah.
Who was in that?
That was the girl from EastEnders, wasn't it, or something?
No.
It was a British girl, wasn't it?
No, that was the $6 Million woman, wasn't it?
Wonder
Woman was the young lady from
I know
Avengers.
The one you mean. Yeah,
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Bionic Woman thing.
Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman
that.
never made it into series. It was I forget the young lady's name, but she was in Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for a couple of seasons. She played Mockingbird.
Oh, okay.
In that show, and she's great. But the Wonder Woman thing, I don't know if they got the tone right. And I haven't seen this new movie yet, so I'm celebrating.
It's really good.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know what they've done.
I really liked it. It put me in mind of First Avenger, the first Cap movie. It's got that same kind of feel to it.
Yeah, it did. It does look like that.
But it's really well done. She's great in it. I would watch her do her taxes.
True.
Yeah.
I would watch her do taxidermy.
Yeah, sure. Why not? As long as I'm not on the slab. But yeah, she's really good in it. Everybody's really good in it. It's a good movie. Like I say, it puts me in mind of First Avenger. It's got that same kind of, fish out of water feel to a degree. Obviously, Captain America's a little bit different because he's not, for lack of a better expression, he hasn't time traveled till the very end, but he's kind of changed. His world has changed around him completely.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. Plus, we time jump within that movie. But yeah, I mean, it's a good movie, and I can understand why it's doing well. It's because it's a really good movie.
And that's the way you want it to work as well, isn't it, Rob? It shouldn't be conditional.
That's all I care about.
It shouldn't be conditional.
That's all I care about. That's why I went to see it, was because I got the impression from watching the trailer that it was a movie I would like. And that's all it should be about. It drives me spare when these things go into such detailed, people go into such enormous depth on these kind of political issues surrounding it, because that's the kind of stuff that can taint, it might be well intentioned, but it can actually taint the future direction of films. And it does, and it has the risk of restricting artists' vision if they're feeling like, I can't do that. I talked about before how I wouldn't be happy if they decided not to put Rey in danger in Last Jedi because she's a girl.
Yeah.
You run the risk of doing that if you're not, if you're paying too much attention to if you're taking the wrong message away from the discussions, say that.
Yes.
You know, depending on how you wrong message, it's obviously subjective. But
no, I know what you mean. You can't focus group out. You can't focus group your way to breaking down what makes this thing work.
Indeed, and also especially because the people who shout the loudest are usually the really tiny minority who don't reflect the opinions of the broad majority, and that's the internet has kind of leveled the it's given everybody a kind of an equal perception of what's the word? I know what I mean. It's given the appearance of equal footing when it comes to forum, discussion forum, but actually the people who like I say, the people who tend to try and drive the conversations are the ones who shout the loudest and actually the ones who represent the fewest people.
That's why they shout louder.
Well, quite, but I mean, I don't want to say don't, because obviously
no, you can't.
No, it's it. You can't exactly. But I'd be reluctant to say it's a renaissance. I'm with Paul. I would say it's cool.
Absolutely,
because one thing I'm big on is I'm always of the opinion that if people are complaining that there's not enough of something in a particular media, the barrier to entry has never been lower. So people have the opportunity to fill that gap. And if they spot a niche, that's how great successes are built. You spot a niche and you fill it.
Mm-hmm.
Taking a small rewind, I remember seeing a story earlier this week. I've never seen the comedy, isn't it, Mad Men?
Mm-hmm.
But there's a girl in that, Elizabeth Moss, and she was
comedy?
saying, "Is it a comedy?"
No, it's not.
Sure.
No.
Oh, okay. I apologize. Like I said, I don't know. Am I?
I know her. Yeah.
I'm confusing it with something else. Then what's the one that Baldwin was in?
Suits. 30 Rock.
Is that 30? Okay, I'm confused.
Yeah, that's a comedy.
Okay. Anyway, but Mad Men, there's Elizabeth Moss. She was saying that there's still beyond shocking sexism in Hollywood. So if Wonder Woman does push down a few doors and say, hang on a minute, we're really sellable still, in the days that Hermione Granger is sellable and Ripley is sellable and Clarice Starling is sellable, if they can do that, great. Grab it and hold on to it, embrace it.
Absolutely.
Whether that equates to Renaissance or not, I'm not entirely sure.
No,
I just think that equates to equality myself.
I think, but those two things aren't mutually exclusive.
No, I know.
You can have, and I completely respect the measured position that you're both taking on this, and I don't think that Wonder Woman is the pin in the map where we can say the Renaissance started here. I think it started in the 70s, to be honest. But the point you just hit on, Paul, and if I just add one to it, Princess Leia did a lot for female.
Absolutely.
The position that females occupy in Hollywood. But she was written by and directed by a man. Clarice Starling, written by and directed by a man.
Yeah, I'm wary of going down the route of if it's not written by, directed by, starring, it's not proper.
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying
that's
is
fine.
Now we get to modern day, and we've got Rey, Jin.
Yep.
You've got the producer and the Kiri Hart. You've got the head of Lucasfilm, Kathy Kennedy. Females creating female characters, and now I think we've taken the next step forward in this renaissance, which is you've got a female character, which you're right in what you said. She's a major character, a major player on that platform, to be sure, and she has been for numerous years.
Yeah,
you got a $200 million budget, and you got a female director.
Yeah,
and that doesn't necessarily need to be the case, because I think you could have had Joss Whedon direct this movie. Whether or not it would have been as successful, I don't know. There's no way of knowing. But he is notorious for having a sensitive approach to female characters and delivering them respectfully to the screen. So Wonder Woman didn't need a female for it to work. But I think that's a major step forward. We've got a female director delivering a massive budget movie that's about a woman.
Yeah.
In a place where the Renaissance has already reshaped Hollywood so that you've got these power players out there and you've got these characters that are front and center in these franchises. And now it's okay for a female director to come in and take the reins of this massive budget movie, this major tentpole for one of the biggest studios, one of the biggest franchises. It's an absolute turning point for that studio right now with the disarray that it's in, particularly with the DC Expanded Universe.
Yeah.
And it's been successful. I just think this is a huge moment.
I think it's great. Like I say, I'm wary of. Like I say, I'm already kind of a little bit. What's the word? I find the discussion around the wider issues a little bit excessive, generally. So I'm kind of wary of wading into that discussion. And to me, I think it's awesome. And ultimately, I'm all for, as long as I can still have access to the things I want to watch and read and play and listen to. I don't really mind, I have no issue with anything being created around me that doesn't suit my needs because I'm big, I think we're all big enough to understand that not everything's made for us and that's fine.
Oh, it happens all the time anyway.
Sure.
This Mummy movie now with Tom
Cruise.
The
Transformers trailer. Couldn't care less.
None of that stuff's for me.
Not for me at all. Not for me at all. But for the people who want it, more power to them.
Yeah.
Bless you.
Bless you.
You got 3 blesses there. Ultimately, I've got no issue with any of that stuff existing, as long as I can still. Ultimately, as long as, in an effort to kind of address these things, we don't go too far in the opposite direction. I don't mind. Let's say, as long as we're not going to it's to the point where we're saying it has to be, it has to be a female director because it's a female character. It has to be a female writer because it's a female character. It's like, no, because actually the reality is that's a really bad road to go down, a really bad argument to make, because, then you kind of restrict yourself from having a female writer for something like the Avengers, and you don't want to do that. You want people to be able to. You want people to have kind of the opportunity to do these things evenly, and that suits me down to the ground. I'm all for a kind of equal opportunity. I'm an equal opportunity kind of guy.
Yeah, and I'm totally with you there as well. It shouldn't be if you're going to make a film about black characters, it needs to be a black director. It
doesn't have to be. I can understand the appeal.
If you're going to make a movie about an English character, you can do it with an American director. None of these rules have been in place up to now. No. Apart from this lack of big budget female directors.
Yeah.
Even if they deliver the films, like we said, about. I'm blanking on Catherine Bigelow. Like we said about Catherine Bigelow's movies, how she delivers films that feel like they're these big budget movies, but the fact is, if they were that budget, it would probably have gone to Fincher or Nolan or something,
Right.
And now it looks like that ceiling may have disappeared with something like this. But as you'll see, the second part on the breakdown, which is more important to me, is with the success of Wonder Woman and that huge worldwide box office, does it open up Star Wars to Patty Jenkins, not just because Patty Jenkins is a woman, but because she's done that thing where, like the boys have done before her, Gareth and Colin Trevorrow, you've gone from the little art house indie movies where you're down in the gutter with no budget, and you've gone to a massive multi-$100-million movie.
Yeah, you've paid your dues and you've worked your way up.
Yeah, you've proven that you can handle it. Can we get a female director behind a Star Wars movie?
Imagine Bigelow doing a Star Wars movie.
The trap I think we're falling into there when we speculate is we make the assumption that it wasn't an avenue that was open before. I don't think that's true. I think that, if they had the right idea, the right project, and the right person in mind, and they could make it work, they would have done it by now anyway. I don't believe that I don't believe that's a closed door. I don't believe it. Maybe not a while ago, but I don't believe it's been a closed door.
It'd be interesting. We often hear about how many actors were cast in roles that didn't get the job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very interesting to see what the queue was
See who
for
went out for these
producer
things.
and director and screenplay and
Sure.
everybody else. Yeah.
Kathy's been asked about this, and she's been very open that they have a list of people that they're looking at. But the metric, I don't know whether they've been very overt with this, but the metric for judging a director's suitability is seeing that first they can do the job, and secondly that they can do the job at this level.
Yeah.
And when you're coming into a movie, but there's so much at stake in terms of running like a small business, running like a small country, really, with that sort of budget, you need to have a very particular set of skills, not the Liam Neeson style, but you have to be
Finding my daughter.
You got to have game, and they've got to be able to prove themselves. This isn't on the job proof, Then Kathy's never going to open the door to any director and just say, "Well, come in. We think you can do it. Come and show us you can do it."
Yeah,
I agree.
No, you're dealing with the biggest fan base in the world as well.
Yeah,
sure.
So you've got to be able to do the job, the actual brass tacks of it first.
Yeah.
Before you get a spot at the table to then discuss whether or not you really truly understand what Star Wars is.
Yeah.
So this, to me, gets Patty Jenkins through the door, whereas before I don't think Kathy would have done it, because I don't think she would have just allowed a female director in because they're a female director. I think she wants...
I think that that's possibly true, and I think that would I actually think that's a perfectly reasonable and the right approach.
Yes.
I think it should be based on, you can have somebody who made a smash hit that kind of that succeeded despite kind of its relatively small. Whatever.
Regardless, positive discrimination is just the wrong way anyway. So
totally, I'm not a quotas guy in the slightest. I'm very vehemently opposed to them.
No, and I think the emphasis on Patty Jenkins, on her being a woman, that's definitely my emphasis in this scenario. And I know that there's no positive discrimination on behalf of Lucasfilm, Kathy.
Yeah.
But to me, like Rob, when you and I spoke to Anthony Bresnik at the end of last year, I said to him, Patty Jenkins for Star Wars.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, why not? He's a big fan of her work that led up to her getting the role, and her getting the director's chair on Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
So that seemed to me then to be a no-brainer that we would get somebody like her come in to this role. And I'm just pleased because I think, thinking about the position that Kathleen Kennedy's in, if she opened the door for a female director, she's going to come under so much fire from...
Unless it's somebody you can quantifiably say, look, we know this, come on, this person's good.
She needs to be able to stand next to Gareth and stand next to Colin Trevorrow and say, and Ryan, I can deliver. But now this is the box office I've put on the show notes tonight is proof.
Yes.
She can stand next to any one of those directors and say, I am every bit as good as them for this job.
I can make a big budget, successful movie based on a beloved property that delivers.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. In that respect, I totally agree.
Yeah. Good on her. Congratulations to everybody involved.
It's a really good movie, and it deserves praise.
Well, that is absolutely the most important thing, isn't it? That regardless of like we've mentioned Catherine Bigelow's work, regardless of the budgets, when the credits roll on those things, they are almost to a unit a fantastic experience. And so now it's just nice to see one with so many zeros after it, because it just gives them more weight. It gives Patty Jenkins more weight in Hollywood now.
Yeah.
The sort of weight that people like Nolan and Fincher have been enjoying for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's a great conversation.
Nolan is a god, though.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's not overlook
the obvious.
Let's not overlook those little details. Connor, Leo, and Nina.
Cracker.
Thank you so much. What a great conversation that question.
And without upsetting Mark, nice to go off at a tangent, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Just good old movie talk. That was cool.
Yeah, it is awesome. I mean, all roads lead back to Star Wars. We know that.
Yeah, they do at the end of the day.
Yeah.
This, I just think, is an important movie because of what it's done for many reasons, and I hope that it just gets Patty an appointment at Lucasfilm at some point.
Yeah.
Other than the characters, the story, the enjoyment, the finance, and the Renaissance, what's Wonder Woman ever done for us?
Nothing.
It's interesting that this conversation would come up today. Because did you see the thing in the news about Elizabeth Banks?
Why do I know that name?
I did not know.
She's copped a bit of flack on social media.
Really?
For two reasons. First of all, she criticized Spielberg because he'd never made a movie with a female lead, which is, again, it comes down to that.
Colour Purple?
Colour Purple,
yeah. That's part two, so I was coming to that.
Okay.
But yeah, part one is like, it comes back to that whole, you shouldn't judge the quality of a director's work based on what they do and don't do in casting. You should judge it based on the quality of the work. Like, and also not for nothing, but Jaws, how do we know? Did they ever say it was a he? I don't remember.
Well, he drafted Melissa Matheson to do E.T.
Anyway, but yeah, the second part was that people pointed out that The Colour Purple was one of his, and she's gone quiet.
Yeah, this is.
She won't answer her. Apparently, won't answer for her.
This is the thing, and this is what we were saying about before that. We've gone back to the conversation, but Patty's got the right now to stand alongside any of these directors and say,
"I can do it.
I can do it." Because you need to be able to produce documented evidence that you can do a thing before people take you seriously. And now,
it's weird. I went to a restaurant the other day and I said, "I want to be your chef," and they said, "Can you cook?" I was like, "I don't think that matters."
No.
I think you should.
Depends what you're eating.
Yeah. But I mean, people are going to hunt Elizabeth Banks down now online and beat her senseless with this thing until she can either come out and say, "Look, I was taken out of context," or "That's not how I meant it," or
just
I misspoke.
or just own up and say, "I done goofed. I'm sorry."
Yeah, I didn't see The Colour Purple. I thought it was somebody else. What did it, Governor?
I forgot all about it. Sorry, won't happen again.
That's what sucks. That's what really sucks about the media. I mean, you said, Robert, the internet's given everyone a platform now to shout really loudly about stuff, and they will be burning Elizabeth Banks in effigy until she makes a statement about what her actual point was, and it may have been taken out of context for all we know. But yeah, that's the world we live in, kids.
That is the world we live in, and these are the hands we're given.
Okay. Well, before we start singing songs that we don't have the license for, let's get to some news. Talking about the internet, putting a spin on things. Let's talk about Star Wars future. So, could Edgar Wright be in the running for a Star Wars directing gig? This is one of those things that became almost like an echo chamber early this week. So he was asked that directly in a conversation somewhere, and he said, "I guess so. Yeah. I have something crazy, but I can't tell you. No, I really can't. You'll have to see it at Christmas." And then people sort of thought, "Oh, that means it's going to be a directing gig for Star Wars."
The interweb, love it.
The interweb just it goes mental. We need to sort of bear in mind that Edgar's got Baby Driver coming out this summer, so obviously he wants as many column inches as he can get.
Sure.
Hang on though. Simon Pegg was briefly in The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Yep.
Simon Pegg knows Edgar Wright. Therefore, Edgar Wright has to direct a Star Wars film.
A Star Wars trilogy. That's the only logical.
That's just it. Yeah, and there's going to be an ice cream cone shaped Death Star in each one.
Yeah. Now you can see where these things come from, can't you?
That's why I'm doing it. Yeah.
So he might, maybe Edgar, because Simon Pegg and Nick Frost made a short film, didn't they, where they were the droids?
Yes. What was that?
Yeah. So maybe he's got a little project like this. A love letter to. I don't think that had anything to do with Edgar Wright, but maybe him and Simon Pegg are teaming up and they're going to do something like a little love letter to Star Wars that's going to come out at Christmas online or something. That might be all it is.
Comedy would be kind of cool.
But we just it would. There is one out there, isn't there? There's a Star Wars comedy series.
Christmas.
That Seth Green. No, that's just a joke. Where Seth Green wrote and produced, I think, like a full season of something.
Right.
Which was shelved by.
Oh
Lucasfilm.
yeah, I know the one.
Was it
I
Star
can't remember what
Tours
it's
or something?
No, it was called. Oh,
Someone.
But don't
knows.
forget Spaceballs.
it was called Star Wars Detours.
Star Wars Detours. That's it.
That was it.
So that's fully produced. I don't think it'll ever see the light of day, but it's
No.
Star Wars comedy is out there.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, there's the Robot Chicken stuff and the Family Guy original trilogy
Yeah, so
adaptations.
they're given free reign to sort of produce stuff outside of canon and laugh at itself, which is great. At least Star Wars don't try and shut too many people down when it comes to doing that stuff. The CNET reached out to Edgar Wright and asked him to clarify a couple of bits. I put a tweet in the show notes so you can have a look at that.
His answer was very long.
So CNET reached out there and said, wait, could Edgar Wright actually be making a Star Wars movie? And Edgar responded, no. So
We've saved you a click, which is one of my favorite Twitter accounts.
yeah, there is a thing. So is that an actual Twitter account then, is it, Rob?
Oh, saved you a
So-
click.
saved
Yeah,
you a
they
click.
go to the clickbait things and just
Got an
answer
Addy
it.
on it.
Superb.
Yeah.
I just thought
Brilliant.
that maybe he mistyped and didn't hashtag when he should have hashtagged.
Could have been also. It could have been that as well. I think it is also a hashtag. Yeah. So here we go. Time magazine. If you want to lose weight, don't do this. And they've just quoted it and said, "Eat at restaurants." That's the entire premise of the account, is just to look at the clickbait stuff with the the stuff with the clickbait headlines.
Brilliant.
And just answer it as succinctly as they possibly can.
That is genius. Absolutely
Yeah,
genius.
a lot of people seem to like it. They got like 240,000 followers.
Well, they're going to get a follow from me in a minute.
There you go.
So yeah, no Edgar Wright. He definitely, this Baby Driver trailer, did you notice Ansel, what's his name? The male lead, Ansel Elgort, is it? He's a really good actor, actually. I really like him.
And Gretel. His name's Gretel.
He's so hot right now.
Hansel and Gretel. He
Hansel.
his wardrobe design in Baby Driver looks very much like Han Solo, which is a part that he was in the final 3 for, I think.
Oh, was he one
You
of the
mean-
3?
He was
You mean
one of them.
he's a big black cuboid with his hair sticking out the front?
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is in Carbonite throughout Baby Driver. Spoilers.
Yeah.
No, I like him as an actor, and I think Edgar is definitely broadcasting a position on that young man's ability to play Han Solo with his choice
Right,
of wardrobe. If you look it up in the trailer, you'll see what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay,
Looks like a good movie, though. Looks
It does look
interesting.
pretty good, doesn't it? And I do like Edgar Wright stuff.
Yeah. And he's got Kevin Spacey in as well, as I recall, which is always nice.
Let me just ask you this question, which is bolded out in the show notes. Should he direct a Star Wars movie?
I don't know, you know.
I do like him.
I like
do
him.
like him, but I also like steak and chocolate, and
I gotta be honest,
put the
there's-
two
In
together.
the same.
I could
in
probably
the
think of 5 or 6 others I can put in front of him. So sorry.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel on it. Is like I like him, but I could think of a few people I'd prefer.
Gotta be honest, now I'm in the mood for a Bigelow Star Wars.
Oh yeah, the Clone Wars
I've
movie.
been,
Yeah.
I've been saying it for. I've been banging that drum for months.
Goodness me. Yeah.
Yeah. Mark's almost sick of it. Hey, Mark.
No, not at all. No, that's
No?
not what I
Okay.
meant. I was all right
Okay, just
supporting you. Goodness me, yeah, you have been banging on about it. No, I'm
cool.
completely with you. I totally would love to see that.
Yeah, it'd be pretty awesome.
But I love Edgar Wright, but
I like him a lot. I
Not
mean,
with Star Wars.
I can't recall a film of his that I saw that I didn't really like. But at the same time, does that automatically make him qualified for Star Wars in the same way as we were talking about with Patty Jenkins? Not really.
No, that's what I
Yeah.
said. No, I can choose 5 or 6 people above him straight away. Sorry. Probably more.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I say, I like him, but I don't know if I can see. I can't picture a film that would, like a vague plot that would work off the top of my head instantly. Yeah. I can't think of anything. I mean, like watching, say, going back to the Wonder Woman discussion, I can imagine she could, Patty Jenkins could very effectively make a sort of a war film, a Star Wars war film, in the same vein as like a 300 style, like that kind of plot where it's like, well, I say plot, it's 300, but I kid. But that kind of thing where it's about, there's battles sort of interspersed with some narrative. I think she could do that. With Edgar Wright, I can't immediately picture anything that would instantly make sense, unless it's like a TV, like you say, like a one-off TV thing, like Tales from the Cantina or something. That could work, I guess.
Yeah. Or if we did something like, we were talking earlier about what we would like to see from Star Wars Future, and maybe I said anything after Return of the Jedi, but across media. If you're going to go across media, it gives you an opportunity to perhaps produce like a web series, and you could have a different tone.
Yeah.
For Star Wars, that plays more to Edgar Wright's strengths, maybe.
Yeah, you have to. That's ultimately what it boils down to, isn't it? You have to play to the strengths of the director, and I don't know that off the top. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that would play to his strengths.
No.
That said, in light of this week's news with Colin Trevorrow, maybe you'll get episode 9.
Yeah, well, I certainly hope that.
Did you hear about the Book of Henry?
Yeah, I know it's been getting not great.
Yeah, it's getting panned, isn't it?
Reviews, but that's fine. I mean, people. Not everything.
It's all subjective crap, Mark.
Not everything works for everybody, right?
No, of course it doesn't.
And this happened with. I mean, look at Shawshank Redemption and Fight Club. They left theaters with their heads bowed.
I know. It's technically the biggest movie ever made. So.
Yeah. So Shawshank is at the top of just about everybody's favourite film list, isn't it?
I know.
I don't know. Mrs. Doubtfire is pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's up there.
And they're virtually the same movie, in my opinion. But
and Buckaroo Banzai. Yeah.
Things find their niche, but just because people are looking at him thinking, well, this is the thing, and we were just talking about earlier. It's a double-edged sword. So now he's up for Star Wars. People are going to look at everything he does, and then they're going to say, no, this wasn't immediately loved by me, therefore we should burn you at the stake. And give the guy a break. Yep. From what I've heard of it, it deals with some very sensitive subject matter, and maybe it doesn't deal with it in a way that everyone would ideally like it to be dealt with.
You're already selling it to me.
Yeah. So maybe let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. If you are at all curious, go see the film and then judge him on how he handles the subject matter itself. But don't go expecting to see a dry run for Star Wars, because that's not what this movie is. So give the guy a chance. But he's in there now. I think removing him from that would be disastrous. Removing him from episode 9 would be disastrous.
No, there's been all sorts of conversations and things going on. Just go with it.
Yeah.
Just go with it.
Unless he kills a puppy on YouTube, then we'll sack him. But until
he
does
did that
something
last week. You haven't read the other news, have you?
Oh God, I didn't scroll down far enough.
Whilst kid juggling.
Okay, right. So Joel Edgerton. Is it Edgerton or Edgerton? I've heard it pronounced
Edgerton. Yeah.
Edgerton. Okay, so Joel Edgerton wants to return to the role of Uncle Owen or Boba Fett, apparently.
All right. Okay.
Not greedy, is he?
Talking to Business Insider, Joel said,
"Or Vader."
I like the or Wonder Woman. I like the idea that Uncle Owen is one of those guys who has done some super cool stuff. I'm changing his language there because we're a family show, but has never bragged about it. My idea is that he could go out and have some adventure, and then he comes back and slips back into these unassuming moisture farmer role. Everyone talks about Obi-Wan being super cool. Owen secretly knows that he was there and did some cool stuff too. And on the subject of Boba Fett, Joel goes on to say, I saw Colin yesterday as in Trevorrow, and I was like, dude, Star Wars me. And he's like, you've already been in Star Wars World. And I was like, yeah, but I'm not going to keep doing that. Yeah, I could be someone else. My pitch to all of them is that there's definitely some Owen possibilities, but also I was only in the movie for a pinch of time. How about I play someone else? I can do Boba Fett. I'll just never take off the mask. That's bold.
Yeah.
Has he got what it takes to do that?
I think he's a good actor.
I think he's a great actor.
Yeah. There's nothing stopping him in terms of quality of ability, but I don't know about, whether he could play Boba Fett. I'm not sure about.
I wouldn't want him to play Boba Fett.
No, I don't want to see a
Boba
Boba Fett film.
Bores me to tears now, Frank.
I would love to see him come back as Owen. I would love to see some of that.
The thing is, I like Edgerton, and I understand Owen's character, but I can't see Owen doing anything particularly cool. Sorry, I really can't.
No, I know what you mean.
And unfortunately, every entity they've given us of Owen, he's very vanilla. I know, even if it was only for a minute or two, but you still see this seems to be a rather vanilla character here. So,
well, that's where I think is exciting, because much like we were talking about Han earlier and how you can cognitively reframe him within like the narrative of a separate story. Wouldn't it be interesting to see precisely what Owen did? Like, you do think he's this mild-mannered moisture farmer. But it could be a chance that when his family's threatened that he breaks out all sorts of kick-ass. And there's that.
Yeah, he could
there's
do.
that. When this news broke the other day, I put a screenshot of the page from Star Wars. I think it's Visionaries, the graphic novel, which has Owen putting down Darth Maul and effectively saving Obi-Wan. And that to me would be brilliant. You know, when he's you tell this Western, and when he's out there, he's under threat. He really delivers, and then he goes back to his workaday life. You know, his paint by numbers life.
It's a bit True Lies, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit True Lies, a little bit Taken, you know, with Star Wars alum.
Well, let Qui-Gon do it then.
Yeah. No, I'm all in. I'd say bring him back. And I'd definitely say bring back Owen, because then that's almost certainly going to take place in an Obi-Wan film.
It makes, I mean, if they can make it make sense, I'm all right with it. Ultimately.
Yeah.
Oh, go on then.
Oh, there you go. Right. Full house. If Steve was here, he'd say yes too. Okay, so we've done Star Wars Future. Let's talk about Star Wars Past. So the Skywalker lightsaber is going up for auction in June. If you've got $150,000 to $250,000, you could be in with a shout there.
Why's Gary Kurtz releasing it?
Probably because it's going to go for $250,000, I would think. Yeah, but it's been in Gary Kurtz's possession since The Empire Strikes Back. I thought this was kind of interesting because there's a couple of other bits of lightsaber news still to come on the show notes.
Yeah.
And I thought it would be an interesting question. If you guys had a bottomless pit of money, you could buy any Star Wars prop you wanted, what would you get?
Wow. Bottomless pit of money. This is tricky.
Bearing in mind, some of these...
Sandcrawler.
You'd like that, would you?
Full size.
Oh, holy crap.
You need something that exists. Paul.
Yeah, so I'm thinking more that something that you could go to Christie's and bid on.
Yeah.
It's a tricky one. Land speeder would be quite cool.
Yeah, I don't think it's in very good condition now.
Probably not, but that makes it all the more attractive, darling.
Yeah. It's a bit like this this lightsaber hilt, actually. It looked a little bit worse for wear.
Yeah.
It was starting to break down. All the rubber
It'd be kind of
was
cool
starting
to
break down.
have a collection of all the droids that were for sale outside the Sandcrawler, actually. You know, 9 arms and R5 and all those kind of little bits and pieces.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool. But that's, I don't ask me why, but that's one of my favorite things in the entire damn movie is just the Sandcrawler and that whole arid idea of traders and these little monkeys going around. Tusken Raiders here being a threat over there, and you know that whole thing is just I just find very attractive. That's all. It's cool.
Yeah, it's some awesome stuff. Rob, what would you be dropping coin on?
But
Tough one.
It'd be kind of cool to have a speeder bike in the corner of your lounge, wouldn't it?
I feel like I do anyway.
Well, it certainly sounds like you do.
Yeah. Let me think.
The Falcon in a garage, a really, really big garage.
You could probably live in that thing, couldn't you?
Oh, live in the damn thing then. Convert the damn thing. It's man alive.
So you just want the set from the
Just
Falcon
give me
set.
just give me the entire Star Wars Empire and Jedi sets, and I'll be fine.
Let me think.
I know what I would get, and we've mentioned it already
Okay.
in passing this evening.
Oh, over the course of the show, you mean, not just...
Yeah, no, previously in the show we made a flippant comment about who would look like this in a current movie. It would be the Han in Carbonite.
Oh, okay. Oh, that makes sense.
Kind of cool. Yeah. Oh, I thought of something that's kind of cool. Because it's so iconic.
What is that, mate?
Luke's grappling hook and rope.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah, that is out there.
Yeah, Han's DL-44. There we go.
You think about even, that's one of the key scenes that sold us Star Wars. The kiss on the cheek, the swing across the rope.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
Seriously.
DL-44.
The DL-44 went a couple of years ago, didn't it?
Yeah, but I've got the infinite money, so I just buy it off them.
Yeah, that was in...
You buy them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in a little bit of...
I buy the house and barter.
A little bit of bad condition now, that thing. It's really... I mentioned this on the Kessel run the other day. It's really... That prop has sort of shrunk almost, where it's kind of beaten up.
I've been washed too many times.
Yeah, bits of pieces have been breaking off of it over the years.
40.
There's some great reproductions of it out there.
Yeah.
Put it on 40.
Well, all our props shrink after a period of years, don't they?
Everything shrinks down here. I don't know what I mean.
Oh my! Right.
Seriously, not being funny. That's a question you can ponder for days.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
in
totally.
fact, I'd probably end up with a shopping list. To be fair,
Yeah.
I would need a bottomless pit of money.
You need a microfiche.
It's funny. On Sunday night we were recording the Talk Star Wars roundtable because Rob asked me to jump back on this month. It was my second sitting in there. It was really good fun. But we're on with Katie Stubbs, VIP, and Adam Sheldon, also VIP.
Oh, okay, that's who that was. I haven't seen his face.
Oh, Adam's superb. He every time we mentioned anything from Star Wars, he just picked it up and held it in front of his webcam.
Oh, wow.
It's like, we were talking about the Skywalker lightsaber and he held one up. He said, yeah, this is one of my beloved things. And we're talking about R2D2. And we said, all I've got is this restraining bolt. I said, Adam, are you sitting like waist deep in just like Star Wars props and memorabilia? And he said, yeah, pretty much. And he had this bank of, he had the DL-44 and the E11 blaster and everything behind him on a shelf. Boba Fett's helmet. There's all sorts of cool stuff.
Yeah.
He's an awesome guy, yeah. So he apparently has got all of them, all of the things. All of the things. Yeah, that's out next week, so listen out for that. Well, the end of the month, that's out. Okay, moving on to Last Jedi news. This contains or has the potential to contain spoilers. So if you want to jump out now, we're going to be talking about a little bit of Last Jedi, a little bit of Han Solo, and a little bit of Episode 9. All of it's potentially spoilery. So if you want to excuse yourself now, we'll understand. Rob, you can't leave.
This is such BS.
I know, doesn't it just?
This is just, I've had to change my entire personality to be on this bloody show. Absolutely everything.
Did you used to be nice?
I'll take that as a big yes. Okay.
Yeah, fair.
So a fan has produced a painting of what could be the rumoured sea monster Rey has to face in The Last Jedi.
We've heard about this on several occasions.
Yeah, we even saw a photograph of a practical puppet on the on location, which was the Arc 2 location. I'm not sure if it was Skellig Michael, probably not. They did some stuff in Kerry.
I don't recall seeing that. Can you rewind me?
I don't have the image to hand, but it is on, I think it is at the source link. I think they might have it there, actually.
Let's have a nosy.
If you click through that. It looks kind of like a big sort of latex ET type thing on the side of a hill.
I don't know why. I'm probably alone here, but the head. I keep seeing General Grievous.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Oh, okay, I'm not alone. All right, fine.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Weird.
So the leaked photograph that you should be seeking out, Paul, seems to suggest that this might
it's been taken down.
Oh, is it? This might be delivered through a mix of practical and CGI effects, certainly if it's going to see some action. But what do we make of this whole sea monster concept that Rey may have to fight one of these things? What do you think of that?
It wouldn't be the first time they've done it. in canon
Mm-hmm.
because they had Quinlan Voss bought something similar in Dark Disciple, the book.
Right.
So it would have some precedent for the sort of the fans who read the extra canon stuff. I don't know. It sounds like it could be entertaining. Depends on how they handle it, I guess. But I mean, I'm not sure. I don't know if I'm feeling that look. It does look. It looks a bit. What's the word? Feathery and that. Yeah, it looks a bit. It looks a bit naff. Yeah.
Yeah, but so did the preconceptual work for Yoda.
Yeah, you're not wrong there.
That would have been before my time, Paul. So
it looked like a gnome, Rob. It was awful.
Oh yeah.
Like a
It
garden
was. It was
or
a little
Smurf.
gnome thing.
Yeah, it did look terrible. No, I think we saw Jedi fighting monsters in episode 2.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen Luke v the Wampa. So
The Rancor.
We've seen the Rancor, yeah. So it's not
Sarlacc.
No, sure.
Exactly.
It's not unheard of.
The Dianoga, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
So, and even R2 had his own issues with a sea monster in Empire, didn't he? So
True. Yeah.
I'm not surprised. The next thing on the list, I think.
The next thing. Ugh.
Yeah.
There's a thing.
Sounds awful.
So here is a really strange
Spoilers.
So Ray, So this is the next point. Ray is told by Luke that there's a creature in the sea consumed with hate. So far, so Star Wars.
Yeah.
She eventually has to face it. It's like a giant sloth, but actually looks really neat. I'd say in the middle of the film, after she attacks it, she realises the best way to defeat it is to get it onto land where it will have trouble moving, which might have been that photograph that whoever this person is had seen it. Yes, she senses that it's not real, and after a moment it changes into Anakin. Just let that tumbleweed blow through, and there it goes. This, along with Finn and Rose rescuing some of the Resistance only to be betrayed, are two of the best scenes in the film, only because they're so unexpected. You can say that again. You meet him early.
This, along with Finn and the...
Yeah. It's something that Finn and Rose do, rescuing someone who's unexpected. But apparently we meet this sea monster early, and he's actually an animal. No one knows this except Luke. When he appears human again, it's supposed to be a gasp moment. I think if this thing morphs into Anakin, unless it's done extraordinarily well, will probably elicit more than a gasp from me. Are you as shocked by this?
Bloody awful. It sounds bloody awful.
It sounds like somebody's trying to call back to Luke in the tree cave with Vader.
It sounds like it sounds like they're going to say, "Oh, he's an animagus." A what? Nothing. It does. It sounds. It's
an Anakin Amagus.
It sounds awful. I don't understand. I don't get how people could be excited about this. It sounds horrendous.
I'm excited.
Are you?
I don't believe you, Paul. Simply put.
There's a first.
Yeah.
Are you?
Well, you being cheerful.
You like the idea? You like the idea of this thing changing into Anakin, then, Paul?
No, but if somebody said to you, okay, I don't like the idea at all.
Rob
if somebody said to you, if somebody said to you that Luke would have a fight with himself in a tree, cut off Vader's head, and see Luke inside, what would you have said?
Yeah, that sounds very, very ridiculous.
Now imagine you heard that a year before you saw Empire.
Yeah.
6 months before you saw Empire. So don't throw anything away yet is all I'm saying.
Yeah, that's when this show would have been called Chat Star Wars. But we would have done it in a high-pitched voice. It doesn't sound great, but I think there's potential for it to be handled in a way where it isn't ridiculous.
But an alien falcon gets swallowed by a space slug. Doesn't sound ridiculous at all, but you saw it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
There's always a bigger fish.
I know, but you've got to be. There is always a bigger fish.
Pear-shaped.
I don't consider them.
The galaxy
comparable.
will be saved by teddy bears.
If there was a way where
rebels and teddy bears, but I take your point.
If there's a way where this week's cover art is Rey standing on the cliff of Ahch-To looking out over the water, because I thought that was kind of a fitting image for this part of the show, at least, where we're talking about the sea monster. if there is actually a sea monster and it is a creature that's consumed with hate, if it does give way to some visions that Rey has, where she sees the sea monster as Anakin and connects with Anakin through the vision, but not with this creature coming out and morphing into Anakin, but if she sees...
That is different.
If she sees Anakin through a vision in some way and makes a connection between the two...
Yeah.
So it's a boggart.
Can we do away with the Harry Potterisms just for a second?
I will when they will.
Yeah, fair enough.
No, I know what you mean.
I would like it to be something like that, where if we did see her connect with Anakin in some way, I would like it in kind of an extreme vision that's difficult, almost like a fever dream that's difficult for Rey to really get a handle on.
I can get with that because that's different.
Yeah,
because it's not reality.
Don't write anything off.
I'm not writing it off. I'm saying it's crap. There's a difference.
Yeah,
I'm
not
writing
writing it off.
I'm not writing it off. I'm crying. Yeah, I'm saying I don't like it. That's all.
Okay.
I'm not saying it can't happen, and I'm not saying it can't be pulled off.
Trust Ryan.
I'm just evaluating it based on the description. The description makes it sound bloody awful.
Yeah, it does
Ryan,
not sound
we trust.
Good. Yes, we do. In Ryan, we do trust indeed.
And he had nothing to do with this article. Probably.
It's got a Facebook with it. It's probably Mike Zero under a pseudonym.
Yeah, I really, really hope that this is just somebody getting this really wrong and telling the story really, really poorly.
Yeah, that I can believe more. Like because like your description, Paul, about the dream that the vision that Luke has in the tree. The description is simplistic, but when you kind of explain it in more depth, you go, "Oh, I see. It's a sort of, it's a metaphor or whatever, or an allegory or whatever the word."
Is that like a mataboo?
Yeah, why not?
Cattywampus.
It's a cattywampus, yeah. So you see that as a sort of once you hear like, oh, I see, it's meant to sort of symbolize that he's going too far down the dark path and blah blah blah, and it's a sort of warning against the dark side through the Force. It's like, okay, that makes more sense than he walks into a thing, Vader's there, and then Vader's Luke underneath.
Yeah, if you take any of these things literally.
Exactly, yeah. So as long as this is not literally what happens in the film, I will give it a chance. But if this is literally what happens in the film, they're going to really struggle to keep me, Yeah,
they don't come back for that quickly, don't they?
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Good points, well made, gents.
Well, been known.
All right, let's get on to this last piece of Last Jedi news. So a trailer for Battlefront came out at the weekend. And in it, there was a shot, I think it was actually more like some gameplay footage.
Yeah.
In it, there was a shot of Rey.
Yes.
Oh, this artillery of entry thing.
Yeah. And it has Rey's lightsaber.
But why does that look so familiar?
Because it's Luke's lightsaber, the Jedi lightsaber.
A lot.
It's all.
Okay.
No,
so she nicked it.
Well, there's a very close. Obi-Wan and Luke's Jedi lightsaber are very close in design. Very, very close in design. Which has led me to believe that perhaps the Padawans build their lightsabers in the image of their master's lightsabers.
Right.
And if you look at the original Skywalker lightsaber, it's a very similar design to Yoda's, with the emitter and the grip. It's kind of almost as if Anakin had built his lightsaber in the image of Yoda's, but scaled it up to human dimensions.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if this whole thing on the Battlefront footage, they've leaked that Rey gets a new lightsaber in The Last Jedi, accidentally.
Probably not accidental. Well, accidentally, yes, but it's...
This is what I've been saying.
So it's probably accurate.
Yeah, nothing happens by accident.
I would say that if I can shoot at Han Solo with Director Krennic in Battlefront 1, you shouldn't take stuff like this too literally. This is a game.
Yes, and of course, there's some footage there that shows the clones in Theed fighting the battle droids and Darth Maul.
Yeah, that never happened.
Saying Star Wars is just a film. No. That's really rude.
Yeah, none of that stuff has to make sense. But it
No.
seems to me like, unless, and I did mention this on a Kessel one the other day, unless this is an inventory and you scroll up and there's like a Tusken
Different
Raider
versions
gaffy
and stuff.
stick, and underneath that is a force,
Yeah.
like General Grievous force pike or whatever.
Mhm.
You know, what they've done here is they've shown us Rey and a lightsaber, and I think that there's a very clear message being sent. And
Right.
also, you can see here, I'm jumping around a little bit, but there's also a tweet inset in the show notes where somebody reached out to one of the developers
And
on
they said it was a bug.
the game, and they said, no, it's just a bug.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I buy that.
Could be. It could be misdirection as well, to be fair.
It could
Could be designed to get buzz around Battlefront 2, because actually a lot of people are a little bit soured on the idea because they weren't so keen on Battlefront 1.
Right.
So that would be a way of drumming up some press around it, because it gets people talking about what that could, the grander significance, like we're doing now. So it's mission accomplished.
I was just about to say, who would talk about such a thing?
Well, I know, right?
Ordinarily, I would write this off and just not pay it any more attention. Just say, oh, well, it was a thing.
No,
it's
I think
an
it's
option in the game.
there, mate.
Well, also, not for nothing though, but in the original, the first teaser, she's got a double-bladed lightsaber. So, you know, one of these things, none of these things, they can't all be true.
No, that's true.
I would say not. I would say personally, don't put too much stock in this.
But the Rey character in the game is also, it's not just this inventory page that's a glitch. The actual character's using a different weapon, because you can see the pommel of the hilt in some of the footage. So they definitely put this weapon in that character's hand at some point.
They put a model in.
Yes.
Which they can very easily swap out.
Yes.
Before the game's finished. That stuff is, from speaking from software development experience, that stuff, swapping out, you know, graphical assets is a piece of cake, as long as you do it early enough in development.
Yeah.
If you leave it to the last minute, then it can be a pain. But you know, again, speaking from experience. But yeah, it can be done really easily, really quickly, if you do it sort of early enough. And we're still 5 months from their release. Mm-hmm. So there's bags of time for them to tweak designs and graphics and stuff. I don't put too much stock in this personally.
No, and I wouldn't ordinarily, if it wasn't for some of the other stuff surrounding Episode 8 that I can hang some theories on. So we heard early on that Luke would be taking the Skywalker lightsaber from Rey at some point and using the Force to take it apart and just take float the Kyber crystal to her, as if to say, you know, what we're using as reference, The Force Awakens, the crystal called to you, so it's now yours. You know, the transfer of ownership. So you can have the crystal, but this hilt's no more. And then he forces her to build, you know, like a rite of passage for a Padawan, build her own weapon, and she would build a weapon, construct a weapon in the image of her masters, which is Luke. And so we end up with this, what we're seeing now in Battlefront 2, which is an Obi-Wan / Return of the Jedi Luke style lightsaber hilt that we see her using here. But the footage that we've seen has her with the blue blade. That's in the Last Jedi trailer, and the Annie Leibovitz pictures from Vanity Fair a couple of weeks ago clearly show her with the Skywalker lightsaber. So I'm inclined to agree with you, Rob, that there's probably not a lot here, but there is some stuff that we've heard already about the movie that would suggest that it is possible that Rey could be asked to develop her own hilt by Luke. Yeah,
I just mean that we probably shouldn't be going down the realm of like this definitely signifies this and start kind of taking the plot down a particular path, because we just, you know, I don't think there's enough there to suggest anything drastic.
No, it's wafer thin, but I keep coming back to this stuff doesn't happen by accident, and this has to go past so many people at Lucasfilm.
Yeah,
if they'd have seen this, they could have said, "Yeah, that's got to be put right," because it's going to send out too many ripples through fandom.
And but then at the same time, like I say, it could be cynical misdirection marketing, because they know Star Wars fans talk about this stuff. That's why we're here.
Yes, of course, absolutely.
They know this stuff happens. So it would be just like in E3 week, you want to be the game that everybody's talking about afterwards, and that's one way of doing it.
Yeah,
because actually, what you're presenting in terms of game is more of the same. because it's another one of these, it's another one of these squad-based third-person shooters.
Yeah.
Like, or first-person, depending on which view you play. Like the original Battlefront. So there's only so much you can do in terms of showing off new stuff. Stuff like this will add an extra bit of oomph to your marketing.
Yeah, I mean, Lego's normally guilty of it as well, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they've certainly done it recently, haven't they? So,
yeah.
Okay. Well, I just thought that was a really interesting thing to pop up this week, and it certainly got some tongues wagging like ours. That image of the Skywalker lightsaber that's at the bottom of this whole thing with Rey is actually connected to that thing in the auction. That's an image of the actual lightsaber that's going up for auction, but I couldn't fit it in the show notes earlier on. Okay. Han Solo. Just a little bit about the Han Solo movie. Crew shirts leaked online this week.
Yes.
2 designs. This one's just your regular old crew shirt, which I think is pretty cool. And on the front, it's got a Star Wars Solo logo. It just says Solo as the title treatment. It has a DL44 instead of an L in the word Solo. And then it's just inside a little marquee, like most.
Do you think that's the name of the film?
No, I absolutely don't.
Why?
Because Star Wars movies tend not to mix up letters and images in this gimmicky sort of way.
No, but why can't it just be called Solo?
Yeah, I don't see it, and the reason why, and I haven't included a photograph here, but the second crew shirt, which was a stunt crew shirt,
I think I've seen that,
had Han Solo. So you've got two titles out there mixing it up. So I don't think Solo is enough of a title.
I think it's perfect.
Do you?
Yeah.
I think this is my pitch from today's Kessel Run I put out, where I addressed this on there. The Solo title I don't think is enough for them, especially if they want to make sequels. But if you were to call it Star Wars Han Solo, or if you just call it Han Solo and then : and the adventure title, so Han Solo at Star's End, a Star Wars story, would be a perfect title for a Solo movie. If you wanted to follow it up with something else, and then you can say Han Solo, insert new title, following the same framework as the Indiana Jones films, Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, and then you just switch out part of the title for every subsequent film.
Yeah. That
would be where my money is right now. That it's going to be Han Solo, then the adventure, a Star Wars story.
Don't like.
You don't like it?
No.
What a surprise!
No. Star Wars Solo just not nail on head. You think of, if you hear Solo and Star Wars, you think of one thing only.
Of course.
And why use any more? Simple is everything.
I think the only thing that makes me think that it's not the case is this other shirt with Han Solo on. If it was only
but that's only for
shirt.
the stunt people. I mean, no one cares about the stunt people.
Don't say that.
Ouch.
They got a cheaper shirt.
They're going to come jumping through your window any second.
They got the Primark shirt.
They did. They got the back. They got the decal on the back though. That's really
These guys got Fruit of the Loom.
we shot first. There's a little icon on the back of the t-shirt.
I know, that's awesome. And it's got the camera as in we shot
camera.
First. Very, very clever.
Cool. I really like it. Rob, what do you think they're going to do title-wise, mate?
I think they're probably going to go with what you were saying and do the sort of Han Solo and the subtitles. Not obviously not Han Solo and the subtitles, but
that'd be a really weird title, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But you can't rule it out.
Sure.
Okay, so that's just an interesting little curio from this week's Han Solo leaks or rumours or chatter. And there is just a little article that came out. Did you guys see this thing about Colin Trevorrow, where he said he's looking to his children and his fatherhood, his parenthood, when developing a Star Wars story?
Not the worst idea.
No, I think it's really cool. Kind of looking at what Rey means to this generation of children, what she stands for them, what they're going to identify with. I think that's really important. that somebody making what is essentially a children's film needs to be able to at least get part of their point of view, still write the characters with layers that we will appreciate, but front and centre needs to be an archetype a child will readily identify with.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of makes sense to me. I know that he kind of got a bit of a kicking for this. It seems to be mean to Colin week online, but
it does. Yeah, it seems to be. Trevorrow can get lost.
There's a t-shirt.
That was a redaction.
Yeah. I think it's unfortunate, and maybe it's Jurassic World that's done this. There was a bit of chatter in the group today, actually, the VIP Facebook group, about Colin Trevorrow and should we be concerned because of Jurassic World?
What do they know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a successful movie financially, whether
Big
or not
time.
it delivered what you wanted from that film. It is a successful movie. And, we were just defending him over this Booker Henry thing, but I just think that it's unfair, really, to judge him. And certainly on something, he's proven with this statement here that he's being incredibly thoughtful with the way he's approaching the project.
Yeah.
He's looking at it in more than just simple terms, I think.
Yeah, I think
Trying
so.
to deliver something layered, maybe.
Like you say, it does seem to be give him a hard time. It's like the Rye Trevorrow week. Oh my.
Yeah. Ooh.
It does seem to be, like you say, just pick on Colin week.
Yeah.
Because his current movie isn't doing very well and isn't being reviewed very well. It's like, yeah, that's not episode 9 though. Last time I checked, so it doesn't really matter. And then this stuff about how dare he say he's looking for kids? It's like that's what George Lucas did. That's what everybody else has done. It seems to be that he's being held to a unreasonable standard compared to others this week.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it in a nutshell, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
What a shame. Give the guy a break. Give him a chance.
Crazy.
We're ages away from his film yet. Let's
Big
see
time.
how
for sure.
it develops.
Also, he won't write it either. He'll just direct it. So, he's not the only cog in that wheel.
I think he is contributing to its story development at the moment.
Yeah,
but
he won't be writing the whole thing by himself. There'll be sort of,
there's someone else there with him.
Yeah, they've got they'll have a writing team, and story group will
Lucas.
a story group advises on that stuff.
Yeah,
they're there to make sure that
they're the bumpers, aren't they, keeping them on track?
Yeah, exactly. They make sure that they don't sort of overwrite what's been before and things like that, unless they're specifically doing so for a reason. But
yeah, legends. Yeah. If it's a legends element.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that sort of thing.
Okay. Oh, well, that was it for episode 9. They're few and far between the episode 9 pieces at the moment, but as Rob pointed out, it is Hayes Trevorrow week, so obviously he's popped up in a few emails. So let's. I like the guy, and I want people.
Let's
to
send a
just give
virtual hug.
Give him a chance. Yeah, let's give him a virtual hug.
Trevorrow
big
week.
time, seriously.
We are in your corner, Colin. Right. Should we wrap this thing up then for the week?
Sure.
Been a long one this week. We've had a lot to talk about. Okay, thank you for listening to Talk Star Wars again this week. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review in iTunes and take advantage of our Ron Burgundy guarantee. So whatever you write in there, I will read, or one of my colleagues will read, as long as it's clean, because we're a family show. So if you want to promote something like a blog or a podcast, that is the place to do it. You can also email us your questions and comments to talkstarwarsinfo@gmail.com, or you can reach out to us on one of our many social channels, such as Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and more. And with that said, gentlemen, where can people find you between episodes of the podcast?
You can find me at moviescorenews.com. You can find me on Twitter on Moviescore News. You can find me on Facebook at Moviescore News.
And Rob?
That was tidy.
It was
you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at RobWadeVision, and you can find everything else I do besides Talk Star Wars at emotionally14.com or by searching Emotionally14 on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and Stitcher Radio. And iTunes.
Nicely done. You can find Stephen at Stephen_Ware on Twitter or Wild About Nature on YouTube. And I suggest you check out his content because there's some wonderful videos over on his channel. You can find everything I do at talkstarwars.co.uk, and I'm on Twitter at talkstarwars. And if you stick around, you will hear a little promo spot for the Star Wars Commonwealth, which is our network. And
They're well good.
They are well good, all of them, honest.
Bitching, innit?
Well,
yeah.
That is well bitching. So we will see you guys. Hopefully we'll have Steve in tow next week. Have a good week, everybody.
Take care. Mind the turtles.
Talk Star Wars is a proud member of the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network. Find us at starwarscommonwealth.com alongside
the Tumbling Saber Podcast,
the Generation X-Wing Podcast,
the TSW Roundtable,
the Skyhoppers Podcast,
and the Nerd Room Podcast.
Head to starwarscommonwealth.com and take your first steps into a larger world.
It's a wrap. It's a wrap.
Let's talk about Loot Crate. Are you on a quest for epic gear, housewares and collectibles? Loot Crate offers an epic range of pop culture items for less than $20 per month. Whether you're shopping for the geek in your life or you are that geek, Loot Crate is the best surprise you know is coming. Every month there's a different theme and new and exclusive items that you can only get with Loot Crate. Treat yourself every month or give the gift of geeking out to a friend or a loved one. You have until the 19th at 9 PM Pacific to subscribe and receive that month's crate, and when the cut-off happens, that's it, it's over. Make sure to head to lootcrate.com/talkstarwars and enter the code TalkStarWars and save $3 off your new subscription today.